Hi, Gordon.
Hello.
You have a different setup today.
I'm at my brother's house in Jacksonville.
Oh, how is it there?
Rainy. Are you in your basement?
I am, but I also changed my setup. Let me start my video.
Hello, can you all see me? Can you hear me?
But not see you.
Okay.
You have to unblock the video so that it shows.
How about now?
Yeah, I see the top of your head.
I guess I need to sit a little taller, huh?
Yeah, move your screen so we can see your face.
Well, my computer is tall and I'm a little short here.
Can you angle it so it points down?
Let me see what I can do here, Erin.
Yeah, that's better.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, that's perfect. It's nice you have photos in the background.
My grandbaby.
Yeah. We should just bring photos to all of our meetings in the future.
Okay. Okay. So how's everyone doing? How you doing, Gordon?
Oh, I'm doing well. Wondering if we'll get to have kind of a normal summer, hopefully.
Okay. I like your haircut.
Thank you. I'm joining from Jacksonville today, and so they allow haircuts down here.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm Jacksonville. Okay. Military. Hi, Evan.
He's here, but maybe he's having some issues.
Yeah, I see his baby picture. So everyone have a good holiday.
Yeah, it was actually pretty restful, which was nice.
It was. I didn't do anything. I didn't go out of the house. I enjoyed
Me either.
myself. I looked at something I never have done in my life. I looked at the whole series of 911.
Oh. So you were binge watching.
I was binge watching. And
That's nice. That's good for a day off.
Evan's always brooding on his back porch.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know if he's frozen or what's going on.
Hi, Evan. Yeah, he's in the moment.
He looks like he's thinking very hard. He's gonna probably try and rejoin. Brenda, you have to fix your computer. I don't want to look at the top of your head.
Well, you know what? I tried to lean it over and see, because I have an all-in-one. Or
Yeah,
maybe I sit on a pillow.
yeah, try that.
A little better?
Yeah, it's a little better. You're still cut off about here, but we can at least see your eyes, which is nice.
Okay. Let me see another pillow. I wish there was a way I could get rid of this trash can on this corner.
Is that where you work when you're at home?
Mm-hmm. Well, now I have my laptop sitting over there.
Yeah. I mostly work down here in the basement because it's quieter.
Well, you know what? I'm trying to get my basement redone. And once I do that, that's probably where I work too, in the basement. When I move everything to the basement.
It's nice to feel like it's a separate area of the house. It's like,
Yeah, it does.
makes me feel a little bit more normal.
I guess everybody in the background saying, Brenda got issues.
That's why we joined a little early, right?
Right. Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can't go any higher.
I can see part of your mouth and I can see your eyes. Which
Okay.
and I can hear you just fine. So that's good.
Okay. Yeah, when I get my basement finished, I got to get started.
So I know that LaRoya is calling in and I think everyone else will be joining on video. I don't know about Perry. I haven't heard from him in a while.
I haven't heard anything from Perry either, so I know Allison will be here.
Allison texted and said she needs audio access. Hi, Evan.
Hey, sorry about that. I
You're
couldn't
fine.
I couldn't figure out why I was having connectivity issues, and then I realized one of my children dismantled my Wi-Fi mesh point, like physically took it apart, so it wasn't working.
That'll do it.
I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna put this back together real quick, and then I'll rejoin.
That's the enjoyment of having children.
Brenda, I'm enjoying them so much. If you want to enjoy them, you can have all three of them.
You know what? I would take them for a few hours.
A few weeks, months.
Tiffany and Allison are in but not as panelists yet.
My daughter went to the hospital this morning. She has shingles.
Oh my. It's
And-
so sorry.
And my son-in-law I said, well, you know, Kennedy most likely is going to get I can't even think of the name of it. And I've been talking about it all day. And chicken pox. And he said, well, she can stay with you tonight. I says, no, she can stay with her mother. I said, because, you know, she's already, you know, they've been together with the shingles and you know, and it's contagious. So, you know, for her to go ahead on and get full-blown chicken pox, she needs to stay there tonight. But you know where she is, right?
With you?
Yes. Yes. So I'm praying that I don't get shingles. So Evans, anytime you want me to keep them, I keep them. Just tell me what snacks they eat.
Anything and
Oh.
everything all the time. They just eat.
Tiff, you're muted. You just have to unmute.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So my camera should be here hopefully next week. My new camera.
That's exciting.
Well, let's pray. It took me a month to get a new grill, so we'll see.
Well, we have 3 minutes. We have a quorum.
I'm going to send the meeting materials tab to the people in the chat just so they have it.
Hey guys, am I missing anybody from the attendees list that I need to promote, or are we good?
Let me make sure. No, I think you're good. Who are we missing? Scott.
I have to get my cup of water before we start.
said LaRoya was a call-in. She's called.
Yeah, but I don't see her on yet. Scott, Leroya, Jeff. Mary.
Oh, I'm gonna need that charger.
Hey, Gordon, the YouTube stream link, I know it changed last time, right when the meeting started. Is the one we've got now the one that we're going to be using? Because I embedded in the meeting page. I had to
Yeah,
change it.
it should be. I'm having, for some reason, the live stream link has disappeared from my option. So
Okay.
I'm just figuring it out, but it'll be that page.
Okay. All right. If you're wondering if it's working, it's just on our anc4b.com. I embed it right in what
Okay.
you give us to notice with the agenda.
Okay.
So you can test it there.
So we're missing, just so everyone knows, Gordon, if you see these names, we're missing Scott, Leroya, Jeff, and Perry. And Leroya is planning to call, as far as I know.
Okay.
I have a stand for my computer, but I don't like where everything's all located here. So let's see.
Allison, what happened to the books? I liked that. The library.
Oh, I got rid of it. You want to see what my current one is?
Oh,
I
no.
got it. No, it's fine. This is a good one. I'm proud of this one. I just didn't want to have it on for the meeting. I'll take it off before we go live.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
That's cute.
Yeah.
You should leave it on.
You think so?
Yeah, I'd be down with it.
I think it's a little self-serving. That's why I wasn't going to leave it on.
I mean, isn't part of being a parent of being a little self-serving when it comes to your kids?
I mean, it is, yeah.
Oh,
I'm in a different role today, so.
Mm.
But yes, we're excited. My first child has graduated from college.
boy,
Very
oh boy.
good.
What school?
Wofford College in
Scott
Spartanburg,
and,
South Carolina.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What? Where is that again?
And
Huh?
Jeff's in the attendees too.
Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Oh, okay. I heard something totally different, and probably because my daughter's playing in the background and my cat's crying.
Oh,
I heard
Yeah.
Spartan, South Carolina. I was like, where is that?
oh no. So he's wandering around the house with no job. So
That's normal.
I don't know. I'm not comfortable.
Don't be hard on them.
Oh, I'm not. I
Mhm.
understand completely. It still just makes me nervous.
Okay.
It's what, been like 3 days?
That's kind of what he's saying too. But I mean, I had a job before I graduated, and I think he would have had one before he graduated if this had not happened. If Corona had not happened right in March, probably would have been kind of good to go.
Probably so.
I graduated a little bit before, but right into the start of 2008, I was doing job searching. And I
Yeah.
just because of that, I encourage people to be patient with people who are coming out in environments like this. Because
Yeah.
nobody
It's
wants to be
rough.
living. No one wants to be living with their parents anymore than they have.
I know,
to,
he's
think.
like-
Then they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
He's like looking at apartments he can't afford and like wishing like, oh,
Yeah.
I remember 2 months ago when I didn't have to stay home with my mommy.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Brenda.
Hi, we're getting ready to get started at 7:02 and we have a quorum.
Okay, wonderful.
We need to move Scott over to panelist, and then I think we can open the meeting.
Oh, okay. Let me know when. Hi, Jeff.
I guess if you know anybody that wants to hire an English major, Evan, let me know.
You'll
I
make
just
a
moved
great
Scott over,
tutor for the
guys.
summer.
Thank you.
Well, you know, PG County is hiring.
June the 12th, job fair.
Scott, you're in with the panelists, but you're muted, just so you know, which is fine, but we see you.
Yep, he's waiting for that one too, Brenda.
Very good. And I know the district most likely will be hiring.
Yeah, but they haven't started, and he DCPS is hiring.
I guess
Well,
that means we're alive now.
he wanted to be an English teacher, so that's good to know.
Brenda, Gordon, are we open to the attendees now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Brenda, whenever you're ready.
All right. Good evening, everyone. How is all the commissioners doing this afternoon? Hopefully everybody had a great holiday yesterday. All of those that signed on participants, hi to you all also. And I want to say thank you for logging on for our meeting. We know that yesterday was a holiday, so you know we decided that we would take a day off because we deserve it very, very much. But we do thank you for logging in. So we're going to go on with the roll call.
Okay, 4B01,
Present.
4B02, present, 4B03,
Present.
4B04,
Present.
4B05, 4B06,
Present.
4B07,
Present.
4B08,
Present.
4B09. Not on for right now. So we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. All right, let's move on to administrative items. First of all, everyone, all the commission, you have looked at the calendar. Is there anything that you would like to change on our calendar for tonight? I do have one item that we're gonna take off the consent calendar. We're gonna vote on it separately because something came up today. And that is resolution 4B 200501 with the 2 parking spaces. So they're gonna have to come off the consent calendar.
Okay,
I also, Commissioner Huff isn't here, I think, but I believe that her resolution 4B 200503 is going to be tabled until next month.
Okay. So
If
that-
anybody has heard differently, or if Commissioner Huff is here.
so just for clarity of procedure, we're taking that off of the consent calendar and moving to table it until next month.
Yes.
Anything else on the agenda?
Anyone else got anything else they need to change? If not, can I get a motion on the calendar, on the agenda?
This is Allison, Commissioner 4B08. I move to accept the agenda with the noted changes.
A second. This is Tiffany from 4B06.
Okay, the agenda has been changed and accepted and second on, so we're gonna move on. Okay, number one.
Wait, Brenda, we got to vote on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about vote. I haven't.
That's okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Nays? Okay. Thank you all. Okay, under the administrative items, number one, instructions regarding participate in virtual meeting. I want to thank you all for this. I said in the last meeting, I didn't feel too well, but I want to thank Allison for leading the meeting and all of the commissioners that participated. And I did listen for a little while, but last month I had vertigo, and anyone that never had it, you don't want it. And it took me for a loop this time, and between that and my sinuses that's going on. But thank everyone for calling in. I think that the last meeting was a very success with us calling in. And I wish that even when the virus is over, we could still have call-in meetings because it's very successful. And I want to thank Aaron and Evan and especially Gordon for administrating all of this. And thank you, Gordon, for being our heads up on this. So thank you, commissioners. I'll give you a hand for all of this.
Thank you. Hey, just to pause for 1 second, LaRoya is here by telephone. I'm just trying to figure out which telephone number is hers
Oh, okay.
so that we can bring her.
Thank you, LaRoya.
Let me just make sure I got the right number here. I think it's Gordon. I think it's the one that ends in 427. We can try that.
467.
I see a 427. That's what I think is her.
That's LaRoya number is 202-704.
That is her. 427 is her.
For some reason, it's not letting me make her panelist. Thank you.
Is she muted as a panelist? I'm sorry, as a participant, Gordon? Is that what I should tell her?
Everyone is
Yeah.
not a panelist. She just hasn't been transferred over to panelist yet.
Okay.
I think if we just give it a minute, that'll sort out.
So could we possibly move on to the first item while because she can hear us? Can we,
Yeah.
Okay.
while we're working the issue?
All right. Considering
And if she needs something, she'll text me if she has input.
That's good. Thank you.
the next item is considering the approval of the May agenda.
Can we, Brenda, I'm sorry to backtrack. Can we, well, Gordon's working on something else, but maybe we can circle back about how community comments work at the end of this administrative section.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Community concerns. Here, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Everyone will see the button from where you need to raise your hand. And *9 is the telephone to speak during community concerns. And we have moved community concerns again to the end because we wanted to make sure we got everything done in the beginning, all the presentations and everything that we needed to vote on first. And this is only because of we are doing a virtual meeting. And we are asking everyone to keep your cell phones quietly. You know, keep them on, I'm not thinking this evening. You all know, just keep them quiet, okay? Just keep your cell phone quiet. And if you have any questions or anything, like we said, just raise your hands and we'll see you, and Aaron will say when to speak. Okay, so Aaron will follow that. And is that it, Aaron?
Yes, that's great. Thank you, Brenda.
All right. Anything else? Okay, approval for May agenda. Everyone looked over the agenda for May?
Yeah, we already did that.
Yes, but I just want to make sure.
Okay.
All right, the approval for our April regular public minutes. Was there any changes? If not,
I move to approve the April minutes.
Second.
thank you. All right, the April minutes have been approved and second. Moving on to the treasury report.
Brenda, we should vote on the minutes. I'm sorry.
You know what? I haven't done this in so long. I forget. Do we really have to vote?
No.
All right. All those in favor of our April regular meeting minutes, say aye.
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 Aye. Nay. See, Aaron is so good. Aaron, I'm writing vote on my paper. All right, treasurer report.
Yeah, thank you. The situation, the treasurer's report, it really isn't any different than last month's because we haven't done anything really as a commission. We still have just under $24,000 in our account, so we're well positioned. We approved a quarterly report last month's meeting. I still need to get that submitted, but I'll do that as soon as we get the we have a form the officers need to sign. So I haven't bugged you about getting physical signatures yet or how to do an electronic signature, but just an FYI that we'll take care of that. It's not something that we need to do immediately, but that's basically it from me.
I know that normally I sign, but I will give you a call and run by your house. You can hand it through the car window. I sign and hand it back. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. We'll work something out like that. It's just, with everything else going on, we'll get to it when we get to it, but I'll make sure that it doesn't go past due.
Okay.
Do they accept digital signatures?
I think they would if we. I would have to clarify.
Right. Because this is district government. It's a little different.
Right.
Okay. Is that it, Jeff?
That's it for me.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner updates. All right, Aaron.
I just wanted to make one notation that the Board of Elections extended the deadline for requesting mail-in ballots. It was supposed to close off at 4:45 p.m. today, and they've extended it through midnight. So if you would like a mail-in ballot and have not yet requested one, you have until midnight tonight to do so.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, I didn't get that. I didn't get that email. Okay. And I didn't even hear that on the news today.
Yeah, it just came out today. They just announced that today. So it's a
right. That's what I'm saying. I didn't hear it on the channels that I was listening to. Thank you, Aaron.
Sure.
All right, coming down to presentation. Do we have the chancellor here?
We do.
I believe he is, if Gordon wants to promote him.
Who am I looking for now?
Louis Farabee.
Chancellor Farabee.
Yes, indeed. I am looking for him right now here on the list. You should be able to speak, sir. Hold on. You are muted. We can see you, sir.
All right. Good evening.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you for visiting us this afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. Commissioner Brooks, I believe you had the son that recently graduated from
Wofford College.
Spartanburg. Yeah. We are hiring. DCPS is hiring.
All right.
So please encourage him to apply. And very familiar with Wofford. Spent some time in Columbia, South Carolina, not too far away.
I will tell him.
Congratulations to you and your family. And again, thank you all for this opportunity. I'll start with just some overview of the mayor's proposed budget. And then once I've covered some of those top lines, we'll dive deeper into what this means for DC public schools. So as many of you may know, this budget from the mayor that's been proposed focuses on health, opportunity, prosperity, equity. When we talk about equity, a great sense of hope in this time of unprecedented crisis, knowing that we can live up to the DCPS values, the DC values, and provide every Washingtonian with a fair shot. And what's interesting is that we were actually in a very strong financial standing prior to this crisis, which has allowed us to continue to stay bold and being responsible and great stewards with the taxpayers' dollars, but also reflecting a response to the impacts of the coronavirus and this pandemic. And what Mayor Bowser has proposed is a continued commitment to good government, fiscal responsibility, without compromising those values. And again, if you've been tracking with some of the presentation from the finance team and the city administrator, you know that because DCPS and DC was in good standing prior to, we're able to maintain our commitment and building a strong and resilient economy, which means investments for our people and our neighborhoods. The budget for the year totals $16.7 billion, including $8.5 billion in local funding. You might be thinking, what does that mean for public schools? So what's exciting about that for public schools is that despite projected revenue decreases for the District of Columbia, the mayor's fiscal year 21 budget includes $979.4 million of local investments. That's a $77 million increase over fiscal year 20, which is something that we're, again, really proud about. This represents an average of 3% increase in the UPSFF, which is how public schools are funded. And then represents the mayor's commitment to ensuring that we keep our students first. And I've also provided a Chancellor Assistance Fund for schools that need additional assistance as identified in their budget, in addition to budget assistance that we provided to schools as well. So we had $3.4 million in targeted assistance from the Chancellor's Fund, and then $6.1 million from our traditional pot of budget assistance. And again, this is what schools use when they're building their budgets and there's gaps in resources. They can request additional funding and we support them accordingly. Through these investments, DCPS budget will remain secure. And so our schools work with their local schools advisory team back in January, February, and March to develop their school-based budgets, which includes their staffing plans and also any resources needed for the school year, for school year 2021. Those budgets will remain intact for the most part of what was submitted in February, with a slight reduction in travel funds, which is being implemented across all agency budgets. I'm also pleased to report that individual school budgets are now available for review. The community can go and visit our website at dcpsdatacenter.com. Again, that's dcpsdatacenter.com. And you can look at all the school budgets, which include budget narratives. And the budget narratives are very informative because they do a year-over-year analysis of a school budget and describes how resources may have shifted from one school year to the next. DCPS is also proud to continue to enrich and nourish students' minds, body, and support the family. And we do this through our connected school model, which is included in this year's budget. It's an investment of $2.1 million. And this is a targeted support where we provide wraparound services, which include wellness, behavior supports, housing, childcare, and financial assistance for families that are being referred for support. We do this through connected school managers who are brokers for the resources that I previously described. We'll also continue to advance equity and access to technology. As you can imagine, this was a priority for us pre-pandemic, and it's become even more important given the current environment of learning at home as we shifted to learning at home in March when our school buildings were closed. The fiscal year 21 budget advances our Empowered Learners Initiative, where we are purchasing devices to help close the digital divide. That investment is $6.9 million and will help us on our journey of a 1-to-1 ratio of device per student by 2022. It's important to note that we started that in the previous fiscal year, and this is a second investment of this kind to support technology for students. And through this investment of last year, we were able to issue devices to students who currently did not have devices while learning at home. And then through the support of philanthropy, we've been able and fortunate enough to purchase MiFi spots for students that are needing internet access. This budget also includes $450,000 for investment in early literacy intervention programs. Again, we know now more than ever, it's important for us to provide additional literacy support across the city. This will allow us to go deeper for students in grades kindergarten through second grade. It's also important to note that the mayor's budget for fiscal year 21 also covers long-term investments in our schools, including capital projects. Over the next 6 years, we're anticipating more than $1.4 billion in capital funds, including $1.27 billion for more than 40 school modernization projects. And so it's important to note that we are addressing some of the needs of those schools that have smaller capital projects, and we continue to do more significant projects as well. Some that are important to note, we have in this budget a permanent home for Bar Early College, which is going to be a new facility at the former Malcolm X Opportunity Center site in Ward 8. This is important because this is our first early college in the eastern end of our community, supporting students with the ability to earn not only a high school diploma, but also up to an associate's degree during the high school experience at no cost to the student. We're also planning to construct a new elementary school at the Old Hardy site on Foxhall Road, which will address some of the overcrowding that we're experiencing in Ward 3 in nearby schools, which will open in 2025. And we're really thrilled that we continue to invest in early childhood education. This budget includes expansion of early childhood development centers, which are focused on serving birth to K and also 3-year and 4-year-olds, which includes new programming at Bunker Hill Elementary, Drew Elementary, King Elementary, Moulton, and Wheaton. Again, this will allow us the ability to expand more infant and toddler seats as we've seen that need increase, and we anticipate those centers to open in the coming years. One of the small capital projects across many schools include our HVAC systems and also field replacements. We know that these are the types of capital improvements that often need to be made and can also be preventative in terms of ongoing costs for maintaining these types of facilities and the amenities associated with our campuses. In the coming weeks, if you'd like to engage more around the DCPS budget, we will be holding virtual stakeholder meetings, which include town halls for families and information for families about our budget, and also the opportunity for the community to share more about future budget models. We are collecting this feedback because we continue to work towards being even more transparent and ensuring that our principles of equity are reflected in how our school budgets are developed. And we want to have a budget model in how we allocate resources schools to reflect that, but also, again, be easy to follow and track for our constituents. So that's where we are. It's important to know that this coming Friday, May 29th, will be our last day for students, and we'll be moving into our summer programming for students and then preparing for a ramp up into the 2021 school year. And again, thanks to the investments proposed in the budget, schools are in a good position in what was planned, again, with their local school advisory team back in January and February. So I'll stop there. I think I had 10 minutes, and then I believe there were 10 minutes allotted for discussion time.
Yes, thank you so much. I know that all the commissioners probably have quite a few questions, but we're going to limit 2 questions per person. And that does not mean that one question has 4 or 5 questions under it and then a second question. And I'm going to start because you didn't say, and I know the budget, you all have already decided on the budget. You have already decided on the money. But since we do have this pandemic now, and I'm going to quote what I got off the media, was you all have 7,000 laptops. and warehouses. Have you all found these laptops? And if so, are they going to be updated and given out to the students?
Yeah, great question. So we purchased approximately 16,000 devices in last fiscal year, as I mentioned earlier, through the Empowered Learners Initiative. Once we moved into learning at home, we start to distribute devices to those students that need a device, first prioritizing our high school students, and then we transition to middle school and elementary. We've distributed close to 10,000 of those devices. So I believe that's where you're getting the 9,000 number from. We do have additional devices we can distribute. We anticipate that we will distribute more devices over the summer as students have needs because we'll be providing summer school virtually. And there may be students that need a device that does not currently have a device. We're also allowing students to keep their devices over the summer, particularly for those students who are participating in summer youth employment, as that will be primarily virtual as well. And for those students that are graduating seniors and who need to use their device over the summer, we're allowing them to keep those devices as well. And any other devices that would need to be distributed at the start of the school year, we're prepared to do that.
Okay, thank you. And my other question is, you didn't speak a lot on the pandemic. How are you all going to go about these kids going back to school without being tested?
Yeah, so we haven't established, our schedule for ramping up to in-person instruction because obviously we're still in a stay-at-home order now, and we don't know at what point will we move into the first stage and the second stage of reopening. But we're making plans, and part of those plans include understanding very deeply and broadly from our community what is the interest in in-person instruction, and how would families look to us to schedule time for students, knowing that we would need to administer social distancing. And we anticipate, again, given the sizes of some of our schools and campuses, that it may be very challenging to have all students on campus at one time and maintain social distancing. And so we're exploring a number of different options. And the first step, again, is to hear from our families and our parents to help guide those next steps in us fleshing out the details.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners? Allison?
So to follow up on your question, Brenda, I'm curious to know how students that still need a device obtain one. Do they contact their schools directly or?
Yes, so the main point of contact is the schools. And so a school has devices, and if a school is out of devices, we get devices from other schools, but they should reach out to their school administration. If they're having difficulty reaching a school administrator, they are welcome to reach out to me or our central service team, and then we'll coordinate a distribution of a device. The same is the process for those students needing internet access.
Okay. And um, Commissioner Parks, I have a question from Commissioner Huff. Should I just read that now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Her question is the follow-up, I guess, to mine. And who determines, what determines who gets a computer? And my understanding is that everyone can get one. Is that correct?
That is correct. We prioritize, again, high school students, middle school students, and elementary. And then we also prioritize students who did not have a device in the home. However, we are hearing, as we close out the school year, we may need to think about siblings where there are multiple students in the home and there's not a device for every student. And we will explore options to potentially loan a device to every student in a household.
Thank you. Evan?
Okay.
Thank you, Allison.
Yeah, the question I had, Chancellor Farabee, the DCPS budget included a non-budgetary item. That's the proposal for co-location of schools in what you term underused facilities. My concern is, so I have two concerns. One is, why is this being pushed through the pandemic budgeting process rather than being heard as a separate non-budgetary proposal? And then the second one is, you talked about the need for social distancing when we return after the pandemic. Wouldn't DCPS want to preserve space in its schools for the health of its children rather than trying to fit more children in the same building?
Yeah, so in terms of the co-location, I'm not really sure which item that you're speaking to. So if you give me more details, if I don't have the answers to that, I can follow back up with you. But in terms of the social distancing, we're trying to work through, how we would utilize our facility to provide maximum in-person instruction based on the demand for in-person instruction. And so we have explored options of potentially utilizing our secondary buildings for elementary age students. We are exploring potential scheduling where students may go on alternating days or alternating weeks. But we anticipate that we could potentially get about a third of the students assigned to a building into that building and still maintain safe social distancing.
I guess to follow up to clarify, the proposal that I'm referring to is in the mayor's budget, and it refers to putting charter schools in the same building as DCPS schools. I guess I've only ever heard it referred to as the co-location proposal, and it refers to some underutilized facilities, and it doesn't specify which ones, except for the possibility of Spring Iron. So that was the one if that helps you answer the question more clearly.
Good, yes. So I know that there has been a desire to repurpose the Spin Garden facility. Given the current size of the facility, there's been a number of different options explored where we would potentially have DCPS agency in the building, other government agencies, and potentially public charter school. If we could have a mixed use scenario there. However, I have no knowledge of any of those details that have been ironed out in terms of utilization of that facility. I do know that part of our capital improvement plan does include Excel Academy remaining at its current location, which is in the Bernie building. And I know that that was a building previously being shared between DCPS and public charter school. So I don't know if it's related to that or related to the potential plans for mixed use at Spingarn.
So there are no plans beyond Spring Iron, you don't think?
None that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Next commissioner.
This is Commissioner Johnson. Thank you so much for coming. But I did have a question and one statement. First and foremost, as a parent of a DCPS student who has an immune compromised system, and myself who is immunocompromised, the fact that we are even considering opening up any schools or childcare centers without having some type of vaccination or some modality of treatment is concerning to me. So I just want to let you know that's how this DCPS parent feels. Chancellor, I do have another question. I know you had stated that this Friday is the last day of school for the students. There have been an inundation of projects and worksheets and things that DCPS students have had to go through in this very truncated amount of time. Will DCPS allow those students additional time to turn in those materials before their final grades are submitted?
If a student has submitted work and he or she needs additional time, they should communicate directly with their teacher and school administration. Obviously, if a student is at the high school level, there are different implications for them based on their grading and graduation and GPA calculations. And so some students may take advantage of what we're calling a I session, where there may be some incomplete work that needs to be completed after May 29th. And school principals and teachers are coordinating with parents and students accordingly to allow for more time for that work to be complete. Do you have a elementary, middle grades, or a high school student?
My daughter's in middle school, but I'm speaking just across the board, not specifically regarding my daughter.
Got it.
I just know that there are a number of students who have been at all grade levels who kind of have been inundated with work upon work during this distance learning session, and have, you know, working parent or working parents who have multiple children, who it's very difficult to get in, you know, an 8-hour work day of telework plus an 8-hour work day for your students of all different ages. So obviously, with that in mind, some work is just not going to be done in the time frame that is DCPS is given to complete it.
Yeah, understood. And we've heard that from our students and our educators, and that's why we've created this I session that I mentioned earlier for students that need more time. But we've really pressed upon our high school students, especially those needing courses for graduation, to ensure that we're aware that they have the need for additional time, and then we can coordinate with those students accordingly to ensure that they stay on track for graduation.
Okay.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other commissioners?
Can I jump in?
Aaron, oh, go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Sure. We've heard a fair bit about the possible loss of Head Start funding. So what is DCPS going to do to fill that gap if that's happening?
Yes, so we made a decision to not pursue Head Start funding for this current school year, knowing that we would be in a better position to pursue Head Start funding in future years as early as the 21-22 school year. What that means for this current school year is that we will continue to have the same number of early childhood education seats as we've had previously, and we plan for this school year. And it also means that we'll continue to provide supports for our early childhood education campuses. The changes that we will see is we've had a number of schools where they have had a shift in their demographics, where they have significantly less Head Start eligible students as compared to previous years or in the Head Start plan. Those schools will see some shifts in their services, particularly around wraparound supports for the students and the families that are associated with Head Start. However, those schools that continue to maintain a high number of Head Start eligible students will continue to receive those services as they have in the past.
Anyone else? Do we have questions, Aaron?
I have a follow-on to
Oh,
that.
okay, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure we don't lose one of the audience questions that's related to Head Start. And I think to hone in on the schools that are affected, this is from one of the audience members. My question is about early childhood resources. As you probably know, Tacoma Education Campus will lose more than $100,000 in Head Start funding next year. These have real impacts on our school. It will mean a reduction in supplies, field trips, and staff members. How does DCPS plan to fill these gaps? So I think the question is, for the schools that are facing direct negative impacts, how will DCPS fill those gaps?
Yes, so we proactively plan to fill gaps where, again, we have a high number of Head Start eligible students. However, again, if it's a campus where there is less Head Start eligible students, the schools will have to adjust accordingly because that's not a sustainable practice for us to maintain those level of supports for schools that may not have high numbers of Head Start eligible students. However, in terms of like classroom supplies and materials, I anticipate that schools will have access to many of those materials that they've had in the past.
Can I ask specifically then, just to follow on, which category do you anticipate Tacoma Education Campus falling in?
So Tacoma is one of our targeted support schools for early childhood education. So they'll receive tier 2 services, which is, I would say, the middle tier in terms of services provided for early childhood education campuses.
Are these
And we can
tiers
provide
available?
you,
Tiers
yes,
available somewhere?
yes, we can provide, as a follow-up, we can provide you with a description of the services for each tier. And again, the tiers are based on the socioeconomic demographics of the schools. And that information is on the DCPS website. For a quick reference, if you go to dcps.dc.gov and do a search for early learning, all of the supports for each classroom are listed, and the schools by each tier are also included.
Okay. Any more questions, Aaron?
We have some audience questions.
Okay.
I'm happy to read them or to have somebody else read them.
Go ahead, Aaron. I'll get to the raised hands after you.
Okay. We have one question about whether the food disbursement will be available after Friday at the school sites when the school year is technically over.
Yes, we will continue to provide meals over the summer. And it's important to note that 10 of our sites are also family meal sites. So in addition to providing lunch and a non-perishable breakfast, those families that are going to those 10 sites can get access to meals for the entire family. And we anticipate that will take place throughout the entire summer. It's important to note that we've served over 400,000 meals, and actually this Memorial Day was the only day during the week that we have not served lunch during this time period.
Will the level of service remain the same?
Yes, anticipate that the level of service will remain the same throughout the summer. Obviously, if we see a spike or a decrease, we will consider any needs for adjustment, but we anticipate the same level of service throughout the summer, if not more.
Okay. Another question is about what is being done to have a nurse at every school in the fall.
Yes, so our school-based healthcare model is driven by the socioeconomics of the school, and schools are prioritized for nursing supports and school health-based care accordingly. And as we receive additional funding, we continue to expand the number of schools. And again, not all of that is based on the socioeconomics of the building and the student population.
Okay. One more question here in the chat function. It says, I am the parent of a fourth grader and the PTO president for Tacoma Education Campus. One small positive from these last 2 months of distance learning was the absence of park testing. Without the many days of testing and test preparation, my child's teachers were able to get through the entire math curriculum for the first time in many years. I know schools and administrators are often evaluated on standardized tests, but this experience provides an opportunity to rethink the way we grade schools. Tacoma Education Campus is currently a 3-star school, but parents feel that's not a fair characterization. Can DCPS use this time to think about how we support schools rated 1, 2, or 3 stars and consider the academic benefits from reducing the emphasis on testing?
Yes, so first, I believe it's important to always have some means of measuring progress and ensuring that we have the appropriate number of students moving towards or at mastery and experience a year's growth annually. However, we do not make the decisions around park. That is actually ministered through the office of the superintendent, state superintendent. And I know that that team and Superintendent Kane's office is thinking about, you know, even in this pandemic and beyond, how do we strike the appropriate balance of testing and student learning. It's also important to note that there are federal guidelines that require states to have an annual testing plan, which includes testing certain grade levels and certain content areas. So the guidelines associated with those federal requirements would have to be altered in some way for us to move away from annual standardized testing.
Okay, Gordon.
Brenda, there's one more question in the chat. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I do this one. This one says, can the chancellor speak to the capital budget? Whittier Education Campus is now given design funds for fiscal year 2026, but there is an additional bucket for ADA compliance. Whittier is out of compliance, desperately needs an elevator. Do we know what schools are in the ADA compliance list? I am the parent of a Whittier third grader and the PTA president, and we are very grateful for our roof. I just talked to a rising first grader tonight while out for a walk who wanted to know what the scaffolding was about.
Yeah, I don't have those details as relates to ADA accessibility. However, it's something that we continue to prioritize and invest in to ensure that there's equitable access in our facilities. But I'm happy to have our team take note of that question and follow up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just follow on to that because I think for our commission, we've heard about the lack of ADA compliance in Whittier at a number of meetings. So it's definitely something that our community is aware of and concerned about. So appreciate anything you can do on that.
Thank you. Thank you for raising that up.
Anyone else? Anyone else, Gordon?
Gordon, I see 2 hands up.
Franzier, you should be able to speak. Oh, I'm sorry.
Frazier, you're muted if you have a question. I think some of his questions were in the chat, so maybe they were answered already.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Anyone else hands up?
Can I just say, as I've had opportunity to respond to questions, somebody mentioned earlier that, you know, it's been challenging for students and families and managing learning at home. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone, all of our parents who've been extremely flexible and nimble and have had to join hand in hand with educators to be engaged with learning at home. All the community members who've been supportive of DCPS and families, whether it be meals, learning at home, and just general support. I believe in great confidence that DCPS has had one of the better experiences with learning at home. And we obviously were forced into a different environment for teaching and learning through this pandemic. But because of your support, feel very, again, confident in what our students received and are taking from this experience, how we can get better, not only during this pandemic, but after. So again, thank you all.
Okay.
So Brenda,
Second.
there was one question in the chat that I wanted to raise up. The Tacoma Education Campus wanted to raise the issue of their specific small capital projects, including the non-working HVAC system, and prioritizing both hand washing and water filling stations in the light of the need for increased sanitation in the schools.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling that out. As I mentioned earlier, HVAC systems are a huge part of our small caps work, and we understand the need to have highly functioning, efficient systems. We are currently reviewing our capacity and challenges for hand washing and disinfecting of our campuses and all the things that we need to do to keep schools safe during a pandemic, if we should have in-person instruction or when we should have in-person instruction. So we understand the need to have highly functioning restrooms, sinks than we've ever had before, along with all the supplies and materials that schools will need. and we will continue to work towards ensuring that that's in place.
All right. All right, Chancellor Furby, we thank you so much for coming out with, because we know you're very busy at this particular time with the pandemic that's coming on. And we thank you for all your answers that you has given us. However, we are going to have we're talking about having a July meeting, and it will be, the meeting will be July the 27th. And if possible, could you join us again just to do a follow-up just before school open in August?
Yes, if you will ensure that someone follows up with me on the date.
Yes.
And if the date works, either myself or someone on the team can follow up on where we are and what the plans are for DCPS at that time.
All right, thank you, because I feel as though as we get closer to the school opening, parents is going to have more questions and we'll have more parents to come out.
Sure, I'm sure they will.
To see,
Thank you.
I enjoyed you.
Thank you. You all have a good evening.
You too. Okay. The next on the list, presentation from the at-large council member Alicia Silverman. Are you here? Miss Silverman?
She's on. Gordon can join her.
Hold on one second, Councilwoman.
Hello, ANC 4B.
Hello.
All right. Chairwoman, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Yes, we want to thank you for coming to be with us tonight.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So I've been listening into the conversation and I just want to add in a little tip. Is it Commissioner Parks who just had a graduate of Wofford?
No, that's Commissioner Brooks.
Commissioner Brooks. Oh, Commissioner Brooks. So Greg Odell, who is the head of Events DC, is a Wofford graduate. Do you know?
No, we know they've met.
You might want to have your son follow up. I think Greg was a basketball star actually at Wofford.
Was, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I will have him do that.
Yeah. Because I know I always try to help out the recent graduates of my alma mater. So, I
take whatever help we can get. Thank you.
It is a challenging environment for our new graduates, certainly.
Yes.
But congratulations to you. Should I launch in, or do we have?
Please go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, terrific. Well, it's great to be with you commissioners as well as the residents in ANC 4B. I think I'm going to speak about 3 things, and I'm going to leave a lot of time for questions because I was very observant of how many questions there were for the chancellor. So for those who don't know me, I'm Alyssa Silverman. I'm one of the 5 at-larges because I include the chairman in that, and I'm one of the 2 independents on the council. So I represent Ward 4, represent my ward where I live, Ward 6, and every ward in the city. I also chair the Committee on Labor and Workforce Development, and certainly that has become a very important position in this public health and economic crisis that we face. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is what the committee is doing in terms of oversight about our unemployment system and how we get people back to work and make this a more equitable city in recovery from coronavirus. The second thing I am going to touch on a little bit is budget. You touched on that with the chancellor. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how you can participate in our budget process, which is coming up very soon, as well as just in general about the council's budget process and how it is going to be different this year. And finally, I just want to give a reminder that I think Commissioner Palmer already gave and several others about the election. So let me start with the committee work. So certainly this has been a scary and anxious time for everyone, but especially for residents in ANC 4B who are in certain industries in our city, particularly the hospitality industry. We just got the most updated numbers from the Department of Employment Services. Over 100,000 people, more than 104,000 workers in our city have filed for unemployment assistance. And it's overused, but it really is unprecedented in our city. That's it's about 1 out of every 7 workers. And as you know, we're an employment center for the region, but about half of the district's workers are district residents. So that means that more than 50,000 district residents have filed for unemployment assistance. So what are we doing in the committee? So we are performing oversight over the Department of Employment Services, and I'll tell you all that I believe in on-the-ground oversight, so I volunteered to be at the unemployment insurance call center. So if your constituents reach out to my office, I'm the person who looks up their case. I've learned how to use our archaic unemployment system, and let me tell you, it has given me great insight into when you, I would say, don't properly invest in agency and infrastructure and in people. You know, now I imagine that commissioners, you have seen the stories about the unemployment, the tsunami really of unemployment claims throughout the country and the difficulty of agencies across the country dealing with it. You know, it is a level of assistance that no one could have predicted or built a system or would have built a system for. But let me say that I hope coming out of this, we will make the key investments we need to modernize our unemployment assistance system and make it work for our residents, because as you know, it's not working well for a lot of our residents. I'm just going to give a few key tips to residents on what's available for those who might be watching and need some help. So first of all, unemployment insurance is a system, employer-based system, and it is given out not where you live, but where you work. So that means that we provide unemployment insurance for Maryland and Virginia residents as well, because they work in the district. Your employer, if you are a W-2 employee, your employer pays a payroll tax into what's called the Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund, and that is what pays out the benefits. So if you are an employee of a company or a nonprofit that's based in the district, you're eligible for unemployment insurance. And if you are laid off through no fault of your own, you know, if you have lost either your job or a significant number of hours because of the COVID public health emergency, you are eligible for UI. And I've told many audiences this at this point. We have many people in our city who've never had to apply for public benefits before. And I will tell you that personally, I have members of my family, close members of my family, that I have had to walk through applying for unemployment insurance. And they have never had to apply before. But I have advised them that this is what this is designed for. This is a safety net to help you at a time like this. So I'd encourage everyone, if you are eligible for UI, to apply for it. And right now there's an incentive to do it because the federal government has put in supplemental money, which I'm not sure is going to exist past July. But right now there's an extra $600 a week of benefit that is paid for by the federal government. So that's unemployment insurance. Now, there are a lot of people, especially in our new economy, that are not employees. They're contractors, they're gig workers, they're freelancers. Under traditional unemployment assistance, you don't qualify. But given how many people in our economy are in this category, the federal government, through the CARES Act, expanded unemployment assistance. This is called pandemic unemployment assistance. And this is unemployment basically for contractors, 1099 workers, self-employed, and so forth. I will tell you that this has been an exercise of building the plane while you're flying it. It is, you know, certainly we want to give economic assistance and keep families stable. But we have had, I have to say, the DOES, along with the 50 other state unemployment, Department of Labor's, State Department of Labor's, have really had to implement this on the fly. And it hasn't gone perfectly, but it is giving assistance now, financial assistance to this group of workers who would have been excluded from UI if it had not been expanded in the federal law. Basically, right now, you are getting a partial payment plus the $600. So right now, every state is giving what is kind of the median average weekly payment. So like what dead center in half what people receive on the whole from the unemployment assistance per week. So in DC, our maximum benefit is $444 a week, and the average weekly benefit is $179. Do I have that right? Oh no, I'm sorry. It's half of the average weekly benefit. So people on PUA are getting $179 a week right now, plus the $600 through July. I didn't want to get too into the weeds to get to the questions, so I'll just say, if you have more questions about this, happy to answer. One other thing I want to say to our small businesses in Tacoma and Georgia Avenue and all parts of ANC 4B is I want to encourage you to think about a program that our committee in coordination with the Department of Employment Services and U.S. Department of Labor is encouraging businesses to look at. It's a program called Shared Work. So what is this? So we know that a lot of businesses as well as nonprofits have seen, reduced revenue. If you're a nonprofit, you're not getting the grants that you expected. And if you're a small business, you might have had to reduce hours or lay off employees because simply customer demand isn't there. What Shared Work allows you to do is you submit a plan to DOES to reduce the hours of your workforce and kind of spread it evenly. So let's say you have 5 employees, and instead of them working 40 hours a week, you can reduce them down to as little as 10 hours a week. So you can have 4 people or 5 people working 8 hours a week. You can actually reduce it down to as little as 10% of what they normally work. And that way you save money, but then your workers are able to tap into unemployment assistance to make up the gap in their pay that they are not receiving because of the reduced hours. And the other benefit, especially to us in the district, is that all those unemployment benefits are paid for not by us, the district, not by local employers, but by the federal government. So it's really a win-win for us. And it allows businesses to sort of hang on to those valuable employees they have, that they have the great institutional knowledge and customer relationships that are so valuable to a business. And also just a lot of small businesses and nonprofits, as we know, kind of treat their employees like they feel like family. You don't want to lay off a family member, essentially. So this allows you to keep people on, allows them to tap into unemployment, to remain somewhat financially whole. And then hopefully as we recover and get out of this, you can slowly ramp up your hours to get back to what would be a more normal amount of hours for your employees. So I would encourage you, if you are a nonprofit or a small business here or a big business, to take a look at Shared Work, and please get in touch with me in the Labor Committee if you're interested in this. I think I'm going to leave it there. Well, let me segue into the budget. So certainly the committee is now fully engaged in the budget. So as you all know, and I lose track of weeks, but I think Mayor Bowser transmitted the budget last week? Was it last? I can't even remember if it was last week. I think it was last week, last Monday, I think. And so now we have our 8-week, 56-day budget process. It's a little later than normal. And in fact, we are going to we're shaving our legislative recess. We're going to take our last budget vote, I think, the end of July on the BSA. So it's going to go a lot longer into the summer than normal. If you are interested in the Labor Committee, which I would love, we are going to have a live public witness hearing, just like you're doing right now. It is Thursday. So if you are interested in testifying, you got to let us know right now. And you would email labor@dccouncil.us to let Sharnisa Royster, our committee clerk, know so we can get you on the witness list and give you the instructions for Zoom. It's going to be from 9 to 12, and it's a very similar process. Sharnisa is going to be Gordon and enable you, or whatever the language is here, on Zoom to upgrade you to be a speaker. It'd be a good chance to talk about, certainly, I assume people are going to talk about unemployment insurance, but I am really focused, and I want to, if it's not already apparent, about the opportunities we have coming out of COVID. We are going to be hiring a lot of public health workers. Those should all be district residents. We're going to have to reinvent our hospitality industry. We want to make sure district residents benefit from that. We're opening 2 hospitals that you might have seen in the budget. We're moving forward with the Ward 8 hospital, and Howard actually has a new agreement with a operator. And we're going to provide some subsidy for that. And I want all of those jobs to go to DC residents. Like, no offense to Maryland and Virginia. My parents are Baltimoreans, they live in Maryland, but those jobs should go to us. And that is how we build a more equitable city, in my opinion. So our committee is very focused on making sure that we are building what we call career pathways into our key industry sectors, certainly our healthcare sector, IT. And so we're focused on healthcare, IT, and hospitality this budget season. And we are coming up with a few proposals that we're working on with our Department of Employment Services and our Workforce Investment Council to take innovative approaches to getting district residents into these career paths. So every committee has a different budget process. I have to tell you, not everyone's doing a live committee hearing like we are, but I think everyone is taking testimony by email and voicemail. So you need to check the DC Council website. I think we have a budget website, and with the committee about what their process is for public input. But we look forward to your public input. And certainly you have that ability as a commission to give that input as well on issues like Whittier, for example. Finally, on the election. So I'm an independent, which means I'm locked out of this election. I can't vote because I don't affiliate with a party. And actually independents do make up, I think, about 1 out of 4 DC voters now. But if you are the 3 out of 4 DC voters who identify as a Democrat, statehood green, I doubt there are too many Republicans in ANC 4B, but let's be inclusive, I guess. Please request your absentee ballot. You have to do that by midnight tonight. There have been issues. I was on a call with the Board of Elections this morning. I was not pleased with some of the answers I got. I have to tell you, I know there are some people, I think even Commissioner Yates might have said this, who requested ballots by maybe the app. Apparently there was an issue with the Android app, if you have an Android phone, requesting it by app. So I am troubled by this, I will say, but if you haven't received your ballot, please get in touch with the board, with your ballot. Please get in touch with the Board of Elections or get in touch with me and we can get in touch with the Board of Elections for you. You do have the option of in-person voting in our we have 20 early vote centers that are open throughout till election day. I believe Ida B. Wells, is Ida B. Wells in 4B? Yeah, I thought so. So Ida B. Wells is one of the 3 vote centers in Ward 4. There's also Emory Heights and Raymond Rec. And then there's also, oh, why am I blanking? There are a few in Ward 3 that, gosh, I'm blanking on. There's close by ones in other wards as well. Oh, Murch Elementary. Thank you, Dolly Turner. That's what I was thinking of. You knew it. Senior moment. So yeah, I think there are a lot of people who are in the upper Chevy Chase area who might vote at Murch. Let's see. So you got to request your ballot if you want to vote by mail midnight tonight. And you can do that at this point, I think, either through the board's website, the app. Those are your 2 options. And with that, I think I've covered the things I said I was going to cover, and happy to answer questions. And I'll check out what's going on the chat.
Aaron, you're muted.
Gordon or Chairwoman, I'll hand it back to you guys.
Okay, thank you so much, Councilmember Silverman. And while you were speaking, I was laughing because you said that you was an independent, but guess what? You fit in with us. Because the reason why I'm saying that, because I said, okay, she says, I'm not going to speak long, because I got this and I got that. And I said, well, you fit in perfect, so you can come back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
So, commissioners, y'all have questions?
Brenda, I got one.
Okay, Erwin.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Norman. I just was wondering, we sent out some of your helpful flyers that you've put together on unemployment benefits. I'm just going to share my screen to pull these up. And I'm wondering if you could share where all these are collected, because I find them.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. Yes. So at my website, alyssasilverman.com, there is a tab called COVID-19 resources. I think it's a tab on the right. And we have a bunch of helpful guides. This one is actually from DOES, but we've also put together what I call quick, easy guides. There's one, for example, that gives you the real basics you need to know to apply for unemployment, to apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance. It's sort of a quick guide to who, what, when, where, why. Plus, we have put together FAQs, frequently asked questions about all kinds of things. What do I do if I can't pay my rent? What kind of food assistance is available? All kinds of questions that we have gotten, through our constituent services, through constituents who've written into us. So I would highly encourage you to go there. If you have a question you think needs an answer, let us know. We can add it to the list, but thank you very much, Commissioner Palmer. Yeah, so it's Alyssa Silverman, just my first last name.com /coronavirus.
I have one additional question. I was wondering, we hear these staggering statistics about the number of unemployment claims filed, and I haven't really seen much about how much has been paid out and what the timing for payouts is.
So I do not have the latest stats, but DOES does put those numbers out. I think we have, I don't want to quote numbers because I don't have recent ones, but a staggering amount in the millions has been paid out at this point. In terms of, so there is generally a 14 to 21 day review period for UI claims. I think we're making a first payment about 50% of the time in that window. Those are the more straightforward cases. I can tell you, as somebody who's now examined these claims, some people have some complicated cases. and it takes some investigation between the employee and the employer. So those are probably the ones that take a little bit longer. But we have gotten the bulk of the claims filed. I mean, it would be staggering if we see this rate of filing continue. I think we're going to start, I mean, we're going to sort of hit a plateau, I hope, because we don't want to see much higher unemployment. So once, and it is not the most straightforward system. So there are things you have to do, like, for example, you have to file a weekly certification every week, which makes sense with UI in non-COVID times, because you're supposed to be looking for work. And part of the certification is saying, yes, I'm looking for work. I reached out to 2 possible employers this week. In this time when people really, it's impossible to look for work, the certification doesn't really make sense, but it's a requirement of the U.S. Department of Labor for us to do it. So it's a paperwork exercise, and that hangs people up a little bit. But we are paying people out. It is slower than I would like. And I just ask people, if you are having problems, feel free to get in touch with our office. I do have a backlog. I think we have about 30 to 40 people that were waiting to look at their claims, but I will look at your claim and try to figure out what's going on. And if I need to escalate it to a DOES supervisor, I'd say about half the time it's something I can tell you, it's something you've done wrong. Or not wrong, but you didn't realize. And then about half the time it's something DOES needs to fix. But my wonderful Deputy Chief of Staff is listening to this conversation, Commissioner, and she got your numbers. So she just sent me, thank you, Ashley, total paid as of May 21st, so it's a little old, $311 million in unemployment assistance.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners have questions? Alvin?
Yes, Councilmember Silverman, thanks for joining us. I wanted to ask, in the light of the difficulty of getting unemployment assistance to 1099 folks, do you think coming out of the coronavirus pandemic, your committee or the council would look at misclassification of contractors as a legislative issue, doing something along the lines of California, the ABC or Dynamex test, as they call it, to reduce the number of people who are in gig employment and make more people eligible for traditional employment?
Yeah, this certainly has highlighted that issue. And just to unpack a little bit of the jargon here, so what Commissioner Yates is talking about is a lot of people, and the perfect example is Uber, work for a company, but they're not considered employees. They're considered contractors, even though they perform duties exactly in the way an employee would. And obviously the big difference there is that if you're not an employee, you don't have rights to benefits, to things like unemployment compensation normally in non-COVID times, workers' compensation, paid sick leave, and so forth. And this is called worker in the lingo, worker misclassification. This is a big issue in certain industries. And I'll admit to you, Commissioner, that somebody in the restaurant industry was just emailing me about he said he's the manager, operations manager, but he was applying as a 1099. And I said, well, I explained to him how he did it. And then I said, but out of curiosity, why are you a 1099? Because if you're the operations manager for this big restaurant group, you should be a W-2 employee. And I did not get a good answer to that question. But yeah, this is a big issue in construction, for example. And actually our last, right before COVID, we had our performance oversight hearing, and we really focused on this issue. So I'm not sure we would just boilerplate take what California did, but I think we have to look at making sure that people who, if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, if you, then you're a duck. So we have to make sure that employers are not abusing the system and misclassifying workers so that they don't have to pay. And let me tell you again, for the business people out there, this is a big issue about a level playing field. We see this especially in construction. And I can tell you, we were talking about school modernizations before, it's an uneven playing field. If you're one company who's paying your workers properly as employees and you have to pay benefits and so forth, and you're another company that's considering everyone as a contractor in 1099, you have a big competitive advantage when it comes to bidding for work because your costs are lower because you're not following the law. So this is a big issue, Commissioner, and my committee will be looking at it.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Councilmember Silverman. I had a specific question from a constituent of mine who was working for a law firm and thought that they were not going to be paid, but wound up being paid. And they had already started the UI process based on COVID-19. And so it's been a lot harder to cancel all of that than it has been to like be approved for it.
Well, that's an unusual case.
What does a person do in those situations? Because I'm assuming if I'm hearing from one person, I'm assuming it's something else that's going on with other people and they just haven't gotten to me yet.
Well, that shouldn't be too hard, honestly. So if they're continuing to be paid by the firm, they just need to withdraw their UI claim.
And how do you do that?
Well, you would have to call DOES. You would.
Okay. Okay.
But you
So
just
that's
say
what I've
you
been-
want to withdraw your claim and you stop filling out the weekly certification. You just ignore the weekly certifications.
Okay, that's what I've been telling them to do, but they haven't been able to get anyone on the phone. So at least I'm giving them the correct information. So thank you.
Why don't you have them email me and we'll take care of it for them.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I see there are some questions in
Anyone
the chat.
else? Mm-hmm.
Oh, do we want to, I don't know if all the commissioners are finished, but I see we have, but that's probably what Commissioner Palmer is up to. Okay, I'm going to be quiet.
All right, any more commissioners? If not, Aaron, you have questions?
Yeah, I have one. I see one in the chat.
Okay.
It says, hi, Councilmember Silverman. Do you have information on the Events DC funding for people without documentation to apply for traditional unemployment or other relief, specifically undocumented workers impacted by closed restaurants, hotels, etc.?
Yes. So there is a group of workers who is not included in the expanded unemployment, and those are our undocumented residents. And I imagine there are residents in ANC 4B that fit in this category. And, you know, my position on this is a lot of these residents are our neighbors, and there are a lot of them work in key industries in our city, particularly the restaurant industry. You know, and they've helped build our restaurant industry into the like world respected, Michelin rated industry that it is. So I think when times are good, they've helped us, and now when times are bad, we need to help them. I've been a little disappointed about my colleagues' approach on this, but Events DC, which is funded, so this is the old Sports and Entertainment Commission for those who have gray hair like myself. So Events DC is actually funded, it's publicly funded by hotel and restaurant taxes. And so what Events DC decided to do is to use $5 million of their reserve fund to create a fund for undocumented DC residents. And they have chosen a few different partners, I think one of whom is Mary Center, which is south of you guys, but on Georgia Avenue in Ward 4. And I talked to Maria Gomez, head of Mary Center, probably 2 weeks ago. They were still figuring out how they were going to administer the program, but progress is being made. And they also set aside Events DC, 5 million for the restaurant industry and 5 million for the hotel industry. Some of the restaurant money, I think, will also go to restaurant workers. And that is, I think, being administered by the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington. So to Raquel, who looks like she wrote in with the question, if you want to follow up with me, I'm happy to try to give you more details. And thank you for the reminder. I need to call Greg Odell, Wofford graduate, about what the progress is on this funding.
Anyone else? Any more from the public?
I don't see any other ones.
All right. Well, Councilmember Silverman, I thank you. We thank you for coming. You can come to Ward 4 at any time.
Thank you.
And we just enjoy having you. Thank you for that information that we can carry on to our SMDs. And
thank you.
Yes,
thank you,
have a good
Chairwoman.
evening.
And thank you, commissioners. You know, I know that you do incredibly important work that really helps us at the council for really not such great pay. So we are really indebted to you, especially at this time. So thank you all so much. Stay safe and look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next presentation is Jason Serino.
This is Commissioner Brooks. I've been asked to introduce Mr. Serino. His project, which is EYA, is bordering my SMD. He's been asked to come and discuss the next steps of the project, and we welcome him to speak at this time.
Thank you. Jason Serino.
Hello.
There he is.
Okay.
How are you guys?
Hi.
Thank you all for having me. Let me pull up a screen here. I have a presentation and some imagery to show you and an update on the project.
Jason, I didn't tell everyone in the audience, but could you give them sort of the visual of where the project is located?
Yeah. Let me actually, there's a little lag here on the slideshow, I believe, but let me show you. I have an overview here. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
All right, so you have Riggs Road. The Walmart and the JBG project and apartments is across Riggs Road from our site right here, and Riggs in South Dakota. Many of you know it's a open field today. It's where the old South Dakota off-ramp used to go, and there's basically a walking path that's been worn through the site, right where the road used to go. The liquor store with the new Riggs Park mural is right here. The Five Guys Subway. There's the large retaining wall below that liquor store wall that also has an art mural on it. So we're that site right below it. The Fort Totten Metro is down here at the bottom of the screen. And then this area that in this aerial image that doesn't show any development, this is the art place. So the modern is phase 1 that's built and trying to lease retail space now, and they have the apartments, and then they have their phase 2 site right up here that has the Aldi and the Meow Wolf and a food hall and other restaurants and stuff planned there. So that's the location of the site. Let me go back. So Riggs Park Place, so as a lot of you know, we've been in communication with some of you, but it's a project we've been calling Fort Totten for years, and we've now kind of dubbed it Riggs Park Place, and working with the LRCA and the Main Street Group, and really leaning away from the Fort Totten Metro name and sticking with the name that's in the community. We pulled a lot of our marketing materials and this color palette and stuff right from the mural and different art pieces in the neighborhood, and working with local artists. So we're trying to kind of merge all that together and really play on that. This is just one of the images internal to the site I wanted to show you. So the building in the background, I know there's been questions on it, and I will get into it. It's the second phase of the project, the multifamily building. It is kind of conceptual still at this point, so this is just a placeholder for massing and scaling. But you know, the townhouses do butt up against that, and the townhouse piece is the phase 1 component. So just a few things about the project. It is a partnership with our company, EYA, JBG, who, as I mentioned, did the Walmart and the Five Guys, Subway, and the apartment buildings across the street. They were the owner of half of the ground out there today. The city, DemPed, owned the other half. So it's half of it's a disposition of city land, and then the other half we're partnering with JBG. We've consolidated the lots and you know, parsed them off by the townhouse piece and the multifamily piece, and we're going through the final stages with the city now. We were actually hoping to close on the ground tomorrow, but we're working through some final items with the bank and the city to get that deal closed in the coming weeks, which is exciting. But what we do have going on tomorrow is our virtual sales opening. It is a first for us and probably a first for many. So, you know, given these times, we've shut down our sales offices completely. We're looking to open the sales trailer. If you've driven by, you've seen the trailer on site. We're hoping to open that in the next week or so. It's by appointment only, single person at a time, but we're still working through details on that and how to do it in a socially distanced, responsible way. So we're sticking with the virtual opening, which you all are welcome to attend tomorrow night. You can go on the EYA website, and there's a link to, you send an email and you can get access to the VIP opening event. It's an informational session, and you know, followed by appointments for those who'd like to make an appointment to get into more details on the project. But some other things that have happened over the last year or so is we've come to an agreement with the LRCA on the community benefits for the neighborhood. It totals $325,000. Various educational development, community development, small business development, and then a large chunk of that, $200,000 of it, goes towards public improvements in the vicinity. And there's kind of three areas there, both physical improvements and money going towards events like farmers markets and stuff like that. So that community benefits agreement kicks in, you know, around, you know, within 6 months of us closing on the land. So 6 months from now, we'll engage with the LRCA sooner than that to start discussing, you know, it's laid out in the agreement what the pots of the money are for and where it can go, but this specific group or business or the improvement in the neighborhood needs to be worked out, and the LRCA is administering that, and then we'll work with them on that. So the development as a whole, it's 174 units today. It's up to 179 if we have the ability to get more in the second phase multifamily building. The first phase is 94 sale townhomes. That's the phase we're closing on with the city now and beginning construction on. They're all parked in garages, loaded via alley to the townhouses. And then the second phase, the way the plans are now, as we're working through with our architect, it's 84 senior rental units. And then it has 20,000 gross square feet of retail below and in a podium concrete level. And then you build the senior rental units, wood construction above that concrete podium level. And in that podium level behind the retail and then 1 story underground would be the parking for the rental building and the retail. A note on this is the requirement for the entire site is 35 affordable units. There are 5 affordable units in the townhouses, and there are a minimum of 30 in the senior rental building. Our plan today is to make the senior rental building 100% affordable. And so the determining factor on that will be, you know, are we able to receive the tax credits to do that in the Housing Production Trust Fund grants to do that, and We have some consultants on board. There's a whole scoring system, and we score pretty high in our preliminary scoring. So the thought and the anticipation is that's the route we'll take. If we don't get the credits or we don't get the grant, we'll have to reevaluate, but at a minimum, the agreement with the city requires 30 of those units to be affordable. And then I'll get in, I have had some questions on what rents would look like and what the affordability levels are. I'll get into that in a little bit. And then of the retail, the 20,000 gross square feet, 5,000 gross square feet of that is set aside for local and unique retailers in the area. We already went over the surrounding area and the vicinities. So here's a plan, a kind of very just illustrative plan of the development. So the phase one is everything. Oh, my cursor's on the wrong sheet. Everything up here, right? All these townhouses is built in phase one. This orangish red building is the future phase two, the senior rental, multifamily, and retail. So as you can see, 80% of the site gets built out in phase one, and we grade this pad out and bring utilities to it so it's ready to go as well. Access is in 2 locations from public roads, off of South Dakota and off of Riggs Road. And then we have a internal street here. It's a private street. We've dubbed it a Woonerf. It caters to pedestrians, but allows vehicles. And what it does for the community that's going to have a homeowners association attached to it is it allows them, and you'll see some rendered images of it, allows them to shut this down and to hold events, throughout that space that bleeds into some of the open space in the project as well. And so here are just some rendered images of what it's going to look like inside the property. So this is the one I was discussing. So we use paving patterns. It changes when you get to this turn in the road, which is actually right here. And it kind of, the paving pattern bleeds into a hardscape plaza that is this. So it feels like one larger space, and we envision that to hold events for the community. What our interior courtyards look, so when fronts of buildings face each other, you get a area that looks like this. It's more passive with seating. And then we have these little parklets throughout that have, some different types of play features that are natural, and we don't have any play equipment or playgrounds, but there are boulders, there's these wavy benches and stuff to play on. And we've kind of been different than any other project we've done. We've hung, lighting in these trees and these parklets. You see in this top image, this is festoon lighting. So you see these in retail areas a lot, or back patios. And these actually go over the street, the Woonerf that I was describing earlier on the project. Really give it a different feel, an inviting feel for the neighborhood and the community there. Just some more blow up images, stuff I was talking about there. So you guys can get a sense, a closer view of the festoon lighting here, and a little green that's in one of the parklet areas. And so here's what the architecture looks like. The units will be 3 and 4 story with the 4 stories optional with a rooftop terrace, 3 story standard. They range from 2 to 5 bedrooms, slab on grade standard. So your garages are in the back, but it's an industrial contemporary look. You see the red brick and the black trim, kind of fitting, the brick is kind of fitting to the neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood. So that's what we were going for with that. And then this plan lays out the unit types. So we have 3 different unit types, 2 different sizes. So the maroon the maroon and pink are our 14-foot wide units. The maroon ones here are the market rate units, and then spread out are the 5 affordable dwelling units that go with the townhome component. And then the orange ones are the 20-foot wide townhome units in the development. So the affordable housing, we are not governed under the typical IZ program in the city. We follow it very closely, but because of the disposition of city land, we have an affordable housing covenant that's part of our land disposition agreement with the city. So that is dictating the program. We still run it through the IZ coordinator. We just follow basically the guidelines set forth in the affordable housing covenant, which are very close. The levels of affordability in the townhomes are 2 of the 5 are at the 30 to 50% AMI range, and 3 are at the 50 to 80% range. And then similar to the IZ program in the city, the exterior needs to look identical, interior finishes, and the appliances and the options offered inside are identical between the two. The nuance is the ADUs, the affordable housing units on the project, are standard 3-bedroom, and the 14-foot wide market rate units are standard 2-bedroom. So there was the commitment early on that all affordable units would be a 3-bedroom unit in the townhouse product. And then just to give you guys a little bit of flavor of, you've seen this, and they're going to start moving in furniture and display boards, and we do a scale model of the development. They're going to start moving it into the trailer that you've seen out there if you've driven by. And this is what that trailer looks like, and kind of bringing the art theme through our graphics and various marketing pieces into the development. We're also planning on the wall of the multifamily building on the first image I showed you. I should have mentioned it while we were looking at it, but doing a mural on that wall. And we have a large retaining wall in the back of the site that runs, basically a continuation of the retaining wall with the mural on it. And we're looking to have the same artist do a mural on that wall as well, just to tie it in. So the multifamily building, the phase 2 piece, this gives you a little idea of, this is the below grade garage structure. You come up to the ground level. This is Riggs Road here. So the Walmart would be across the street, and the retail is, South Dakota Avenue down here, just to orient. So the retail would face the Culture Coffee and the Walmart. And then as you'd move over down the building, it gets into the lobby and the amenity space that we are toying with an option to make a amenity space that would cater not only to the seniors residents of the building, but also to the public, so that it could be a joint amenity. That's not fully worked out with the city yet, and how that would work and what it would house, but we're in talks about possibly doing that if space allows. So that level is your level at the sidewalk, basically a grade around the site. And then you jump up to the 3 floors above that wood construction that are the apartments. And so again, the plan today is that all of these units, it says 81 here, but the plan actually yielded 84. The plan is that all of those would be affordable units. Here in the top left, the chart shows you the minimum requirement through the disposition agreement for affordability. So at least 8 of them need to be at 30% or lower AMI, and then 22 of the 30 would be between the 30% and 50% range. In the top right, what this chart shows you is the current plan today, all 84 units. If we were to get the tax credits and the Housing Production Trust Fund grant, the affordability levels of those units, so ranging in the 30% to 50% range, and what the maximum rents are that you could charge. Just as you're looking through this, as you see it there, the 30% level is part of the city voucher program. So, you know, that could be 100% paid for in vouchers, or, you know, partially paid for, depending on the income qualification of the resident. You know, what their income level is, they would pay a portion of that amount, and the voucher program would pay the rest. But that's what those are. It's, you look at the 30% level, especially the first one, and it's a little funky on why the rent would be higher than the 50%. And that's because a large part of that is paid for by vouchers, and the voucher program is very specific in what the rents are. So just a quick rundown of the schedule so folks can get an idea of where we are. As I mentioned, we're opening our virtual sales opening tomorrow evening, and we hope to open the sales trailer as early as next week. Occupancy permits aside, and working through some just some measures to, you know, safe protocols inside that facility. We are, due to the delays we're working through with the city, we're looking to close on the ground around June 15th, and we'd break ground a week to 2 weeks later, so just call it the 1st of July. And then once we're going out there with land development, it's about a 6-month process, 5 to 6 months, where you get to a point where you can start going vertical with the construction, which means bringing the townhomes, you know, pouring the slabs and bringing them up above grade. And then 5 to 6 months after that, which puts us into May of next year, is when we start settling the first units and people start actually moving in. And it's about a 3-year period, given that there's 90 townhomes, till, you know, from start of the first till settlement of the first unit till settlement of the last unit. And so that's the townhouse piece. So then the multifamily piece, we'd be looking to start the construction on that in September of 2022, and that's just over a 2-year build out. And, you know, you start pre-leasing those apartments prior to occupancy. You know, maybe you get 40–50% of the way there, and then within the first 3 months after it's open, it's fully occupied. In the retail, those tenants would be in around the same time. They may be, some may be a little bit earlier, some may be a little bit later. You like to have at least when the building's ready, but then they do their own tenant fit outs based on their needs as a restaurant or a whatever type of retail that they may be providing. So I know it's been a long, you guys have had a long agenda so far, a lot of presentations. So that's kind of the high overview of the project, where we are. We're excited to finally get started out there. I know it's been many years that you guys have been hearing about the project, and so it's close to seeing actual activity on site, which is exciting for us, and hopefully not too disturbing for the neighborhood. And we hope you guys are generally excited as well. But I will field any questions you may have. I'll also see if I can monitor the chat here.
This is Commissioner Johnson. How many of the units, both townhomes and multifamily, are wheelchair accessible and ADA compliant?
So we have to follow the DC Green Building Act, which doesn't require for the townhouses ADA accessibility. There is a provision for, it's called universal design. So because it's not a multifamily building, it's single family for sale units. We're not following Fair Housing Act, which would dictate elevators and things along those lines. And so universal design does things with counter heights and grab handles in bathrooms and things along those lines. It's kind of a step between
right. I'm very familiar with that.
Housing. Yeah, so that there is a percentage, I believe it's 5% of the units in the Green Building Act require universal design. The multifamily building, because it is multifamily, regardless of senior or income restrictions. It's just multifamily is a definition on its own. It requires compliance with the Fair Housing Act, obviously at 3 stories, you know, above a podium, but the townhomes do not.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Gordon,
Sorry, this is
Are
Allison.
there any
I had
other-
a question. I was on mute. Jason, so this is my first introduction to this project, and that you provided a lot of information, and I'm going to need some time to sort of digest all of that.
Sure.
But one of the first things that stuck out to me, well, there were 2 things actually that stuck out, is one, that there's lately been this effort by developers to brand this area Fort Totten, and that is not Fort Totten. Fort Totten is a subway station. That is not the community in which we live. And so I want to, you know, put out there that I have some concerns about the rebranding of this community, and then we can talk further about that at another time. I understand that it's going to be called Riggs Park Place now, you know, overall, but right on the front of the presentation, it says, you know, Fort Totten. And so I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. Is unsettling for a lot of residents that have lived here for a long time, that suddenly they now live in Fort Totten and not Riggs Park or Manor Park or South Manor Park. And then the second thing is, while you talked about the brick facing on the buildings, a lot of the townhomes that you displayed, don't really look like this neighborhood.
Yeah, so they are, the description for them is industrial contemporary. So the materiality is similar to that of the neighborhood, but it still is a contemporary architecture. It's something we worked with DEMPED and the mayor's office on. We held various community design charrettes early on. This project has evolved significantly since 2015. Folks that remember it back then, it was the entire site was a concrete podium, and it was townhouses above, and the entire the totality of the site was a parking garage, you know, other than the face along Riggs Road. And so obviously now we have townhouses at grade. There's less podium on the site, kind of more porosity through the site. But yeah, the architecture is still, it's a contemporary in nature. You get that with the flat roof, the black trim. But
Which isn't going to, I understand it's contemporary, but that is in direct contrast to the current neighborhood. So to imply that it's going to blend with the existing structures in the neighborhood is not accurate, in my opinion. Doesn't mean it won't look nice,
yeah,
but it doesn't look like the existing neighborhood.
Fair point. And to your first point, so I don't know if you guys know Edwin Washington.
I know him very well. I serve on his board.
He was a big part of this being named Riggs Park Place. You know, he was the first one that kind of told that story to us, and you know, how folks in the neighborhood feel, and you know, the other developments coming online, you know, the Arts Place development and how they're using Fort Totten in the naming. And so we weren't going this route at all. And then Edwin, we met him at Culture Coffee, Miss V's place. And, you know, that kind of changed the direction for us, and realizing folks out here, you know, that have been living out here and associated with the neighborhood don't associate with the Fort Totten name, and that's not what you call the neighborhood. So that he played a big part in the changing of the name on this project.
Okay, and then lastly, obviously traffic is you know, not the norm currently. How do you anticipate this impacting rush hour traffic? Because when things get back to normal, and we're all hoping that they do, South Dakota is a major thoroughfare in both the morning and the evenings for traffic to get in and out of the subway, as well as to get to 50.
Yeah, so it will have an impact on traffic. We ran and you know, submitted to DDOT and went through the PDRM process. And on this project, we didn't have a PUD, but we had BZA approval. So we did our traffic impact analysis. What I can say is, where the development went, because now basically 50% of the development is planned for this senior rental component that has, very low parking requirements and trip generation. It's far better than where it was in 2015 when it was 28 affordable units was the only component to it. There was no senior component. The affordability, as we evolved over time, went up from 28 to 35. But you've now taken, in these 84 units that would generate multiple trips per day, you're down at like a quarter trip per day in those units. So it's not to say it's not going to have an impact, but we're aware of the situation on South Dakota and what it looks like. The impact from a development like this, a townhouse development, is always greater in the morning than in the evening rush hour.
Mhm.
But it's gone through the traffic impact analysis through the city, through DDOT, meets their thresholds without future improvement.
So during Walmart's construction period and right after its opening, they arranged with DDOT to have traffic guards. I don't know what their actual title is, but they had people assisting with the flow of traffic during the rush hours. I'd like to suggest that that would be something that you would look into. It's also very likely that at the same time as your construction project, there will be a Chick-fil-A construction project diagonal from you, and that's just going to be a nightmare for that area.
Yeah, so DOT is pretty strict, and their process, unlike all the kind of surrounding jurisdictions, is pretty thorough, going through the public space process, and they do require an MOT that requires traffic control, flaggers on site in multiple locations wherever we have vehicles entering or exiting the site, wherever we have pedestrians crossing a construction area or closing. You typically don't close lanes of traffic in DC anymore unless it's a major development. So they look for you to, they don't really look for you to send pedestrians to the other side. So you do things with covered walkways, and when you do close down lanes, it's usually, temporary in nature. It's for utility connections, unless you're rebuilding the road, which we aren't doing here. So we have all those provisions in place. It's a requirement of our approval through DOT.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
There's several questions in the chat.
Yes.
I don't know if Aaron, if you'll take those.
I'm happy to take those. We have a few people with hands raised, but let's maybe start with the discussion in the chat. Will there be weekly or bi-weekly construction updates? How will community members
Unable to see the
with
chat. I don't know
concerns?
why.
Jason,
It's fine, Jason. Aaron will read the questions.
will there be weekly or bi-weekly construction updates? How will community members reach out with concerns?
Yeah, so we are working with the Parks Main Street, the LRCA. We're happy to work with the ANC as well to do that. What we really ask from the community is, we believe there's a lot of overlap there, and coordinating things with many different people can become burdensome on our folks in the field who are also responsible for the safety of the site. So if we could organize to have a liaison for the community that we report to, that can get the information, to the right folks, that's the best approach. We have other requirements through the disposition agreement with the city to communicate on a monthly basis. We're reporting out to the city. We're reporting out to Lamont Riggs as well, on that status. So we're happy to work with folks we've gotten similar requests from council member Todd's office, and so you can imagine the list of community groups and folks that want to be engaged. Again, we ask that there's a point person and a liaison if the ANC has one, and we can give as applicable.
I would suggest that while I fully support all community organizations' desire to participate and be heard and receive information, none of them carry great weight. As an ANC commissioner, we do, or as a body, we do. And so while you might be engaging with the Parks Main Street, which I said I am also involved with, that doesn't mean that by any stretch of the imagination that that's enough to satisfy ANC commissioners. So there's going to have to be some communication and involvement with the ANCs.
Yeah, and
because you're on the border of 3 ANCs, unfortunately, you're going to have to interact with 3 commissioners because you're, 4B08 is across the street, 4B09 is across the street. And I believe that's what, 5A01, if I remember correctly. I'm not quite sure, but you're actually on the 5A side of the street. So unfortunately, you guys are going to have to do a lot of communicating. There are plenty of distribution list capabilities inside of Outlook, though I'm sure it'll be.
Yeah, we have our field guys. I'm always a point of contact for you and any of the ANCs and any of the community groups. It's the field guys, and a lot of times we'll have them go through us so that I can get information to you guys. It's preferable. They've got enough to deal with, and people walking the site, constantly asking questions, and so it's a tough job. It's underappreciated. So I'm happy, I'm that person to the community for the project. And so if there's a point person, in the ANC 4B, happy to keep them updated on a regular basis.
I'll speak with LaRoya because she's actually the one that invited you to present. Unfortunately, she's not here at this moment. But because we both border you, either one of us could become a point person. So I'll talk to her and find out, what she wants to do with in that regard.
Let me just get through a few more of these questions, if that's okay, because we have a handful. We should be moving toward wrapping up. Additional questions are, can you talk more about public space plans that you referenced? Will there be native landscaping and trees?
Yes, so the District Department of the Environment has some requirements for a green area ratio on the site. One of the largest ways we meet that is by the plantings we have out here. And so the plantings are on their list of plantings that you receive credit for that requires them to be native. Some of the foundation plantings around the units, I can't, without going and looking and talking to our landscape architect, I can't speak to if those all are native or not. I point those out because as you get, those are called on-lot trees. They're on the private townhouse lot, not under the requirements of the green area ratio. But I could look into that. We typically, and our landscape architects typically lean native anyway, unless there's a specific reason, an ornamental feature not to do so, but that's, usually it's a focal element, not something as foundation plantings. The amenity spaces around the site. So there's 3 kind of small park areas. You can see this one here. They're more urban in nature, hardscape. It's really like the one you're looking at here is kind of connecting the front doors of units, this Woonerf concept, and, drawing it all into one. It's kind of creative seating elements, some open lawn areas. And then we're using, in the multiple locations, I identified the art to tie in. And, there was, I forget the gentleman's name. We were introduced to him at Culture Coffee, and he has a program where their artists design the art, and then they go out to the community and it's, through programs through DCPS and different organizations, they get kids to come out and they actually do the paintings. And they've done it in DC a couple times. They do it across the country, and the artists oversee them. And so we're looking into that. He's reached out to us a couple times. The stuff comes out looking great. So it'd be cool to kind of engage the community like that. But we're using that art to tie it in, and you know, the real kind of activation on this corner is going to come as the retail comes online. And the plans are, you know, still conceptual on the multifamily building, but there, we had some images of what the previous plan was before it became the rental, and the engagement of the space at the corner of Riggs Road in South Dakota above the retail. And it was like an outdoor, you know, rooftop patio over the restaurant that was planned to be there. And so that's something like that is still a possibility, depending on, you know, how the design of the rental building plays out and access up to it. But that's really where we're looking to activate, is more on the Riggs Road side, the frontage where there's retail across the street, and trying to keep the, you know, the neighborhood quieter. You know, there is the traffic to get to the future retail, and the garage can come from both South Dakota and Riggs Road. So the potential to cut through here. And that's why the street, this one earth concept, through paving, through raised crosswalks, stuff like that, is to traffic calm on this inner loop of the road. But we're trying to keep it more of a neighborhood feel. And it's, you know, it's not set up as, you know, community park space. You know, the amount of acreage out here just really didn't lend itself to that.
We have two additional folks who want to ask questions. Rodney and Dolly, I believe, also wanted to ask a question. And I just wanted to clarify, the location of this project is in single member district 4B09, is that right?
No, it's actually across the street.
Aaron, we only gonna take those 2 questions, and then we gotta cut this off.
Okay.
More questions after these 2, and these 2 is gonna be limited to 2 minutes only.
Okay. Gordon, you're on.
Hello.
Hi, were you trying to recognize Gordon or me? This is Rodney.
Rodney, we're trying to recognize you.
Hi,
Okay.
Rodney. It's been a while.
Okay. Hey, Jason, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, sir. So listen, I only got 2 minutes. I'll try to be real brief here. The Development Task Force, as most of you know, has been that coordination, that organization that coordinated these kinds of development projects for the whole Lamont Riggs community. We've been doing this for about 12 years. We've kind of know this stuff like the back of our hand. So we'll continue to play that role in partnership with the ANCs for 4B. And because you're across the street from 5A, we'll continue to play that partnership role and coordination from them as well. And as most of you know, the Development Task Force is that community entity where you have architects and planners and good government people that can really look at this from all aspects and has a lot of capacity to kind of engage with developments like this. The other thing I want to mention is that I'm glad that Edwin was the tip of the iceberg that encouraged you guys to go with Riggs Park. I've been a member of the task force for about 12 years now. Maybe about 3-4 years ago when we started this discussion with you guys, I encourage you to kind of make sure that the name reflected the larger community. As Allison said, it's called Riggs Park, not Fort Totten. So I just want to echo that.
A big part. Thank you, Rodney. You helped in that as well.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I just want to let folks know that Edwin was probably the latest person to echo that, but certainly we've had conversations with you guys about that before. So I just appreciated that you know, that EYA listened and that the name now reflects the community where it's situated in. That's great. Got another couple quick questions. Is that senior building, is that rental or purchase units? Are those condos or apartments?
It would be rental, apartment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the exterior materials, and I know Allison looked at that as well. Since you guys are still about 1.5 years away from actual construction or a year away from active construction. We're hoping that the doors not close on any, meaningful community input about the exterior of the building. As you know, we are a red brick building, and I thank you for adding the red brick to the Rigside Road. I'm not sure if the other sides of the development would also reflect red bricks, but the industrial design with the red brick doesn't kind of capture who we are. So I'm hoping there's opportunities for more dialogue about that.
Yeah, it's still very early on in that new layout for that building. So more to come there, but it's so early that nothing's set yet.
Great. Can we get an electronic version of your presentation, and that allows the task force to really get into the weeds?
Yeah, if you guys, is it best to go through LaRoya, or is there? I have her email, or is there somebody else I should send that to?
No, sending it to her is sufficient.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Alison, can you say that again?
I said sending it to LaRoya is sufficient, and you can get a copy from her. And I also want to say I need to correct something that I said. The border for 4B09 is on the back side of this property, so it's not in 5A, and I confused everybody. So I apologize for that.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have to cut this.
5A.
I think Dolly had a question. That was the last one we had.
Okay.
Let's see. Sorry. Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Listen, I just wanted to, this is really more of a comment. Obviously, this is a project that has taken really many years to come to fruition. And one of the final hurdles that we had to cross was a legislation that was needed, that was introduced by Councilmember Todd to close an alley. We just want to thank, this is an area of our community that has desired development for a very long time. And we would just like to thank the ANC commissioners, the community organizations, and EYA, even in this tough economic environment, for sticking with this project and continuing to move it forward. It's very exciting, and I actually think it's probably one of the nicer designs of projects that we have coming to all of Ward 4.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Nice to put a face with a name. We hadn't been able to meet in person due to the time, but thank you, and thanks for your help, and I look forward to continued coordination with you guys as well.
Thank you.
Okay, Jason, thank you so much for coming. I know we'll get to hear from you again in the future.
Yeah, just let me know, as obviously as the multifamily gets further along, that will warrant some updates, and then we should be in more regular conversation outside of these nightly meetings on the construction, and we'll do that. So thank you guys. We do appreciate your time and the input and the assistance, frankly, from this community. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to getting to the construction phase with you guys.
Okay, be safe.
You too.
Okay, next we have our reports. Metropolitan Police.
They might not be on. I never got confirmation from anybody.
Okay. Councilmember Brandon Todd's office.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good, Commissioner. How are you doing?
Good. I'm wonderful.
I do have one question at the end. So I think, part of what we wanted to do was just to provide some updates for you that a lot of people have wondered about. So far, as it relates to the budget, I know I was on a Ward 4 Ed Alliance meeting last week. Based on the way the budget is going so far, we're happy to say that the majority of all of the budget for Ward 4 schools remains intact. And what that impacts is the completion of Shepherd Elementary School. There was a phase 2 and phase 1 modernization there for a cafeteria, a gym, and a field. I think a cafeteria, a gym, and classroom expansion, light fixture, ceilings. Also, West Elementary will continue its progress forward. That's going to be completed in fall of 2021. Raymond Elementary is still planned to break ground in the fall. Lafayette Elementary, their final expansion is underway. LaSalle Bacchus, the small capital improvements, $6 million budget for HVAC, multipurpose room, cafeteria, 10 water fountains, and some exterior fencing is still in place. Whittier Elementary School, the roof that is still in place. That's $1.3 million for a roof and $1 million for paint. Tacoma Education Campus, the playground was just completed, and the budget is still in place for $477,000 for VRF piping replacement, which impacts, I'm pretty sure that's like HVAC. There's also still money in the budget for the Powell Elementary, $1.2 million. The pool for entrance for Roosevelt, excuse me. And right now, it appears as though the capital improvement plans, some schools that were a little bit further out, but not that far, for Dorothy Height, that is still in place too. So I know a lot of people were very concerned about how the new budget was going to impact Ward 4 schools, and we're very happy to report that, you know, as of today, we're in good shape, and Councilmember Todd plans to continue to fight to keep every single penny of that in the budget. It is a negotiation. It has been for a very long time, and so far we're moving forward on that. As it relates to capital projects, well, Aaron, I'll answer one of your questions now, so just so I don't forget. No, the grant that you mentioned for Tacoma Main Streets is not available. The DC grant is not for Tacoma Main Street because it is not a DC Main Street. It's a Maryland Main Street. Once upon a time, they did have some funding from DHCD that was a community block grant. They don't have that now. We have been in discussions with them about trying to, you know, support them with the Main Street. Not sure whether or not that will happen in this cycle, but we have certainly had lots of conversations with Laura. And we've had conversations, you know, internally inside the government. So we'll come back to you on that. But we do include her in everything that we're doing, you know, as in terms of planning, because we want to continue to support her. She's really phenomenal and has done a great job with the DC businesses. In case anyone's interested, we had a meeting last week about Eastern Avenue. Cross-jurisdictional meeting, a brief meeting about residents who live on Eastern Avenue who were having some problems with the construction. We had a very informative meeting about potential gas leaks, plates, some damage that was occurred on properties. So we are in touch with residents and Washington Gas. The Eastern Avenue project is going to be coming to a close soon, temporarily, and then it will start again in the winter of 2021. So we will post something about that soon, just so people know what the progress is. And when it picks back up, it's going to pick back up on Eastern Avenue and Riggs and go, you know, further east, right? So it's stopping on the west side of Eastern, and then it's going to pick back up on the eastern side. You'll get a lot of notices. We'll talk more about that in the future. Fourth Cedar and Blair is near completion. It should be finished in July, August. It was slowed down at the beginning of COVID because the workers, they disbanded the workers. Everybody's back. The work is underway. There is a repaving schedule underway. I don't know, that doesn't really affect people. Butternut sidewalks, Butternut Street Northwest from 6th to Main Drive and Georgia Avenue. That sidewalk construction is slated. Butternut Street from Blair Road to 6th, sidewalk construction, yeah. It's 0.23 miles, and so that's planned. Also, the crosswalks in this cycle, I don't have the schedule, but obviously before the fiscal year ends, for Truesdale, Tacoma, Whittier, Shepherd, and Roots. The crosswalks, and let's see here. Matt Branch Trail, because this impacts us. The design will be completed late 2020, early 2021. Expect to begin construction summer 2021. The funding will be in the 2021 budget, and there will be public input opportunities during the design phase, which they are currently revising. So you'll get some notifications about that from us soon. All right. let's see here. I think those were the big things. You know, so far, many of the items in, some people have asked about, I'll just mention a couple things that have come up in these meetings in the current budget cycle, which is for seniors, the hearing aid assistance program is going to be funded in this budget cycle. There's going to be a refunding of the senior dental program. There's also money in the budget for the school-based mental health. Many people across the city have asked about that. There is, for childcare funding, there's $75 million in capital funding to support 17 schools and the creation of 540 new early childcare seats and 180 new pre-kindergarten seats across the country. And in fiscal year 21, there is a $22 million budget for Barnard Elementary School. That was one other thing, capital I didn't mention. And so I think those are some of the key things that have come up that I remember. But if you have any other questions, Pete, please feel free to, you know, ask.
Okay, thank you. Any
You're
questions?
welcome.
You finished, Dolly?
Let me see. Yes, a couple of other, three other quick things, and then I'll stop. Councilmember Todd's government operations hearings will take place on June 10th, 11th, and 12th. The list of those hearings will be in our upcoming newsletter. It's so many committees that I don't want to, you know, burden you with those details. And then in terms of housing, we're very also excited about 1125 Spring Road. It's 180 new affordable housing units for large families, which people have wanted in the district, and 80 units for seniors. That's a project that's been in development a long time. Very exciting. And of course, we have 218 Carroll Street coming up. The one on Carroll Street, I can't remember the name of it. And then there's the apartment market rate. I think those are the key updates.
Okay. Any questions for Dolly?
Brenda, I have questions.
Yes.
A question. I just want to say thank you for answering my question about the Tacoma Main Street. I'm disappointed that they're excluded from a lot of benefits that the city offers because they serve the Maryland side in addition to the DC side.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, with regard to the council members' budget hearings, I understand that those public witnesses are limited. They cannot give live testimony. So can you explain how the public can weigh in and give feedback?
Oh, sure. You, Sam, you're on here, right? You can still submit written.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so we are not having live witnesses at our hearings. As Dolly said, they're June 10th, 11th, and 12th. Witnesses may submit testimony via email, as well as if they don't want to do written testimony there, they can submit a 3-minute voicemail to a Google Voice number that we have, and I have it pulled up right here. If you give me 2 seconds. I can give that number to everybody. Oh, just had it. There it is. That number is 202-430-6322. And if you leave a up to 3-minute voicemail there, it can be more. There's no hard limit on it. We will transcribe that for the record as well. And there's no limit to how much written testimony anybody can submit.
Thank you.
And I had a question as well, if that's all right.
Okay.
So, Councilmember Todd, I was pleased to see in an email to one of the neighborhood listservs was talking about the need to bring ANC services and roving leaders services to the parts of Ward 4 that have recently had outbreaks of gun violence. As you know, the mayor's budget cuts both of those programs. What is Councilmember Todd doing to ensure that those programs are adequately funded so that they can actually deliver on those services he's talking about?
So Dolly, I can speak to that as well because I've actually worked directly with that. So yeah, I took a look at the roving leaders budget cuts myself actually, and they're still higher than FY 2019, luckily, but they were down from FY 20. And I know DPR's budget oversight hearing, it was originally slated for this Friday, has been scheduled to June 15th, and I believe Councilor Todd intends on attending that and just kind of getting some answers onto why we've kind of reverted back to previous fiscal years when, like you said, it's kind of a key program there in preventing violence in those areas. So I look forward to that budget oversight hearing. I know Councilmember Todd does, and just kind of seeing what can be done, whether it's restoring some lost funding there or what, and just kind of seeing what they're thinking, what DPR's thinking is there.
And the ANC and the Attorney General's programs?
Dolly might be able to speak to the one's office a little bit more than myself. I haven't looked at that specific funding, but I know their upcoming hearing is upcoming as well.
And just so people know, that's the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, which is violence prevention.
Yeah, I apologize. It's been I've been having an acronym night, so yes, I should have explained that.
A lot of acronyms in DC government.
Okay, any more questions? Okay. No Q&A. All right, thank you, Dolly.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. All right, the next is the mayor office.
This will be Gordon. I think it's the Ward 4 mayoral liaison caller.
Pulling them up now.
Sean, you should be on if you can unmute yourself.
I thought I could hear him.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Let's see.
We can.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Keyshawn Harris, the Ward 4 liaison for Mayor Bowser's office. I want to thank the commission, Chancellor Farabee, and Councilmember Silverman. Most of my updates have already been shared, but I do want to let you guys know about a few things from the mayor's office. The mayor provides coronavirus updates each day via coronavirus.dc.gov or via a daily press briefing. The Mayor Marion Barry Summer Youth Employment Program has transitioned to a virtual platform and will begin on Monday, June 22nd. For more information, residents can visit does.dc.gov. Just to echo the statements earlier, you have about less than an hour and a half left to request your mail-in ballot via DC Board of Elections. We invite community members to join us tomorrow at 5 p.m. for a community leader phone call with Mayor Bowser, and that will be tomorrow at 5 p.m. And the number is 844-881-1314.
Repeat
Today,
that again.
Sure. 844-881-1314.
And the
Today,
time?
you got it?
No, the time.
Oh, it's at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Today, the mayor announced that nonprofit organizations in the district are eligible to apply for federal grant money that has been made available through the CARES Act. This is to support community social distancing and promote public health awareness outreach efforts. The grant application will be available online today, and the deadline to apply is Tuesday, June 9th at 5 p.m. And let's, what else? DDOT announced that paving of local roadways will resume on May 27th, weather permitting. Since March, DDOT has paved about 23 miles of highways and roadways in the district's neighborhoods. And in 2019, DDOT paved more than 100 miles of roadways. So for more information about DDOT's paving plan, we encourage residents to go to ddot.dc.gov and always submit your 311 requests if you have a pothole on your street or are seeking assistance. And that was all I had for you guys.
Any questions?
Yeah, Kashan, I had a question about the mayor's coronavirus data that she's releasing. I think a lot of us were confused by this metric that we're using of a 14-day downward trend in coronavirus numbers, but then when we had a spike that it went back to day 11 rather than to day 0, and that the mayor said today that they wouldn't be sharing the statistics that they're actually using for that number. So can you walk us through that decision to not share that information and why we didn't reset back to 0?
Thank you, Commissioner, for that question. I am not a statistician or an epidemiologist, so I'm unable to answer those specifically about the metrics, but you're correct. We did go back to day 11. I think today we're at day 13 of seeing a decrease in community spread, which is one of the metrics the mayor is using along with guided support from DC Health to talk about phase reopening. So what I can do is I'll reach out to our health team and our data team to figure out what's going on with that and if we can get you that information.
I look forward to it. Thanks.
I have a quick question. Keyshawn, I'm wondering, since the Reopen DC committee and the advisory groups associated with that released their report, and there's a lot of information, commissions weren't really involved in weighing in on that. And I'm wondering if there's additional opportunity for commissions to be relevant and weigh in on reopening strategies.
Thank you for that. We are always happy to accept fresh ideas from commissioners who too are elected officials right on the grounds. So if you do have any fresh ideas for our Reopen DC group, I'm more than happy to take those back to the team. The group just gave the mayor recommendations. They aren't things that she can necessarily say, okay, we're going to do tomorrow, but they're a guidance for how we plan to reopen our city. And so I can definitely take those concerns from you if you want to email them to me.
Thank you.
I have a question either for Keyshawn or either Dolly. I've been getting calls this week and part of last week about Ward 4 having a testing site here that was free for anyone that wanted to be tested. And I didn't hear anything on the news. I didn't receive any emails about that. So does anyone know about that? And if so, why wasn't 4B, told about it?
Sure, I can take that question.
Okay.
So we have started something new where we're trying to target our most vulnerable populations, our groups of people who necessarily wouldn't show up to a test site, people who necessarily don't interact with the government. So we canvassed an area within Brightwood that had high numbers of undocumented residents who are from other countries who necessarily wouldn't come to a regular site, mobile testing site. So that's why we didn't advertise it, is because we wanted to focus heavily on this community. But we do have 14 sites across the city. We have one on the Ward 4-5 line at UDC, Bertie Backus campus that we encourage residents to go get tested at. We also had a mobile test site in Ward 6 today. So it varies. We're going to go throughout the city, but we're trying to target our most vulnerable populations.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now I can tell my constituents, because I got some heat on that.
Thank you, and I'll take that back to the team.
Okay, any more questions for Keon?
There was one participant question. He wanted to know the name of the grant program for nonprofit organizations.
Sure. It is the DC Hope Community Grants, and that information is on moca.dc.gov, moca.dc.gov.
Okay. Thank you so much, Keyshawn.
Thank you guys and continue to be safe.
Keyshawn, I love the way you just present and you done. That's good. All right, Ward 4 State Board, Fraser O'Leary.
He may not be on anymore.
Oh,
He is, I see him.
Oh, he's here. Good. Fraser, you're muted.
All right, good evening, everyone.
good evening.
I have a couple of things. The Chancellor answered one of my questions about the food sites. That's really good. You know that there are 5 food sites in Ward 4 at Roosevelt, Truesdale, Paul, LaSalle, Bacchus, and Coolidge. Coolidge has grocery pickup on Wednesdays for anyone in the ward from 12 o'clock until 2 o'clock. The other times are every day from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock every day during the week. I'm also delivering books. I think you remember probably the last time we were live that I was collecting books. I stopped doing it right when we were quarantined, but got a lot of books. And so I'm delivering books 3 days a week to all of the food sites in the ward. And we got a real nice contribution from Reading is Fundamental for books in Spanish and English for kindergarten and first and early readers. And so I get to, and they're being picked up all the time. So that's really nice. We got some information today about graduation. All of the high schools are going to have virtual graduations. All of the seniors in the city are going to receive caps and gowns and a sign that they can do like I did with my son who just graduated from college. Last Sunday, I got out in the front yard and got to take a picture of him with a sign saying that he graduated. So that's really good. Couple of other things. Truesdale and Whittier's elevators still don't work, and they're not ADA available. And that needs to be fixed as quickly as possible. We can't wait for that to be when they aren't working. Thank God Whittier's roof is being fixed and is in construction right now. The one thing I'd like to mention, someone mentioned it earlier, is about the park testing not being done this year. And the community needs to get behind about why we can't have a more equitable test for our students. And the federal guideline says there has to be a standardized test. There are hundreds of standardized tests that are much more fair than the park test is. And I'll stop there.
Okay, any questions from Mr. O'Leary?
Doesn't look like it.
All right, no questions. Thank you.
I have one comment.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Mr. O'Leary, I have more books. I've just been holding them. So I can meet you at Coolidge if you'd like, but we can talk about that offline.
Okay, I'll be at Coolidge tomorrow around
I'll
11.
call you in the morning.
Okay, okay.
All right.
All right, any more? Okay, I don't see any Q&A. Thank you, Mr. Leary. Be safe.
I will, and you
All
too.
right, hear from you next month.
All right.
All right, consent calendar, we're gonna go through this very fast. All commissioners, you have read what we're gonna do: bullet 1, bullet 2, and bullet 3. And we wanna give a motion?
Yeah, can I just clarify that it's the first 4 items because we removed the last item?
No, because we removed 3.
Yes, but there's 4 items on there that we're voting on.
1, 2, 3. We're gonna table the last one.
Right, that's the 5th one.
1, 2, 3. Okay, so we moved those 2. We only have 3 left.
No, we are just moving one.
Okay, we tabling number 5.
Yeah, Commissioner Huff's resolution. The other ones are on there. There are 4 of them. Should we just read the titles?
No, because Commissioner Brooks asked that the parking space for 0501 be taken off.
Okay, be taken off. Okay.
Yes,
So
we're going to discuss it.
I think, Brenda, do you mind just reading the ones that are on the consent calendar?
Yes, I will. I will read them, yes. Okay,
thank
we're
you.
going to do letter to Committee on Transportation and Environment regarding performance oversight of District Department of Transportation, and that was Commissioner Yates. Letter requesting audit of Office of Unified Communications, that was Commissioner Yates. And we had our resolution 4B 200502, calling for assessment and plan to broaden municipal internet, Commissioner Palmer. Those are the ones that we're going to vote on.
I move to approve the consent calendar as read.
Second.
All right. It has been moved and second that the consent calendar be as read. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, thank you. Now let's discuss this is gonna be very quickly. Resolution 4B 200501, requesting elimination of 2 parking spaces on 3rd Street Northeast. We want to change that from 2 parking spaces to 1. You want to elaborate on?
I believe there has to be an amendment and a vote on an amendment, and then we can.
Okay, Commissioner Brooks.
Yes. So initially we requested 2 parking spaces in an effort to provide residents with as many parking spaces as possible. We are going to now ask that 1 space be removed. And if we find that that still is insufficient, we'll go back and ask for a 2nd space. So at this time, I'm asking that we amend the initial resolution so that the number of spaces requested to be eliminated is only 1 space. We're talking about, and I apologize because I can't at this time of night tell you north, south, east, or west, but if you're coming out of the Walmart parking lot and you're attempting to turn left, there's very, very poor visibility. And so we're asking that that first parking space to the left of the Walmart exit onto 3rd Street be eliminated. Additionally, we've asked DDOT to install flexi posts so that people recognize that they should not park in that space. That is the entirety of the resolution.
Coming out of the parking lot, that's going south.
Thank you. So when they're making that left and going south onto 3rd, we're asking that that parking space be removed. This has been an issue since Walmart opened the parking lot and now being addressed.
Okay.
Okay.
So what were you saying, Evan?
There was also, I was going to say, there's one comment in the chat I wanted to flag because it came in early that the person wanted to, a constituent, and I assume they may have left early given that it's 9:45 at night now, and I wanted to read.
I know we got to work on our time.
Yeah, I just want to put on record that I support the removal of parking spaces south of Walmart exit at 3rd Street Northeast, and I feel the spaces should be restricted during rush hour, 4 to 6 p.m. No parking from the driveway to the corner of 3rd and Riggs Road. Traffic backs up to the intersection. That's Tanya Hutchins, 4B08 resident.
Okay. Thank you, Tanya.
And
At
I want to
this
say
time-
myself that I
Okay.
have a preference for the removal of the multiple spaces. I think like the parking impact on the neighborhood is extremely small, given the fact that we're talking about the entrance to a parking garage. And I weigh in on the side of better sight lines for my constituents that drive and walk to that Walmart rather than one parking spot right there.
Okay, Allison, we already have a resolution written, correct?
Correct. And
Okay,
it's
so we can
posted on the website.
amend that.
There's someone needs to move to amend it to change it.
Yeah, I was just, right.
I'm moving to amend the resolution to indicate 1 parking space instead of 2.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All right, it's been said that 1 parking space be moved be removed, and it's been second. All those in favor?
This is just on the amendment, right?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Any nays?
Nay.
Who would nay?
That
Evan.
was Evan.
Evan.
Oh,
It's his personal mission to say nay to all of my resolutions. I think.
No, that's why I clarified this is just on the amendment.
I know.
intended-
I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you.
yeah, that's why you said just on the amendment. Okay. Okay, so you're gonna make sure that correction is made, correct?
Correct. So now we have to vote on the amended resolution, correct?
Okay, now, make a motion.
I move to submit the amended resolution for consideration.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All right, it's been moved and second that the amended resolution be sent forth. All of those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Do we have any community concerns?
There's some hands up.
Nays? I'm assuming there are no nays. Okay.
Any community concerns?
We just have Dolly with her hand up twice.
Okay, Dolly.
Hold on one second, I'm sorry.
Dolly, we all have to work tomorrow.
I don't know if I'm gonna wake up.
Dolly?
Yes.
Oh, terrible feedback.
Oh, God.
Here.
You got 2 seconds.
Okay. So, as it relates, first of all, sorry about that. My battery died. We will, Commissioner Palmer, we had started looking into some alternatives for Tacoma Main Street. It's competitive, so we have to compete with all the council members across the city for funding, and there's a finite amount of money that's available. But we had started exploring some other avenues to help them support the DC-based businesses, and I'll give you an update at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dolly, really quickly, since the
you all
Main
hear
Street
me?
is, yes, since the Main Street is also in
well.
4B01 though, I wanted to point out that the funding isn't the only concern. It's access to programs, especially under the coronavirus recovery. And those are legislative fixes that could be made in the bill rather than through a funding request where you have to compete.
Right. Oh, sorry. Did you hear me? Did you hear what I said about Tacoma?
Yes, I was responding to that.
Oh, and what was you said that there should be another avenue that doesn't require people to compete?
It's not just about funding. It's about access to programs, like the programs that are available to businesses under the coronavirus recovery. And that can be done through legislative language. It doesn't have to be done through a competitive funding process. In the next coronavirus omnibus bill, the council member can just request a couple words saying that any qualified Main Street by any jurisdiction is eligible, rather than just DC Main Streets, and they would be automatically in.
It would have to carve out Tacoma. Otherwise, you would make it eligible for main streets that surround the district, and we would not want to do that.
Yeah.
Right,
Well,
but there's
Good
a way to
point.
do
Good
it.
suggestion. Something to think about. We'll explore that.
Okay. That's it. Someone want to make a motion to close?
I make a motion to end the meeting.
Okay.
Second.
All
care,
right.
everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Sorry
Good
for the
night,
long
everybody.
meeting. We will